Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Today it's clobbering time, so I thought this would be a fun series where we take characters from comics that we like. That I guess a little similar. I mean, we're not going to put Galactus against Aunt May, although that would be funny, and not just have them fight, but we'll talk about them. Like pick your champion, and we'll talk about their highlights. We'll talk about like their downfalls. We'll talk about their strengths, their flaws, which one's a better character, and then we will vote on who would win in the fight. All in good fun, all in good comic bookness. And I got somebody already waiting in the wings. Just so everybody knows, this is a link. You could click on this and join me. This is supposed to be comic book fans geeking out. Like pretend we're in a comic book store and get animated and goof around. And so with me we got Shadowpunk. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, man?
Pretty good. Thanks for popping in.
Yeah, I was excited when you mentioned it yesterday. I was like, this is a cool idea.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I was pretty proud of it. Sometimes, once in a while, I have a good idea. I could turn this here. I don't need a light.
I was talking to a friend of mine months ago, who's not he's not online or nothing, and he's like, I was like, we should do a show like this, right? Because it's kind of self-evident, it's how you do it, right? And it's how it's you have a good conversation about the stuff. I think it really matters,
Right. I mean, it started out just like, can the Hulk beat the Thing in my head, and then I was like, you know what? That's kind of. I mean, that's fun. Don't get me wrong. I was on Master Swag's channel. And that's all we talked about for like an hour was which superhero could beat which, and it was just a lot of fun. No drama, no politics, just stupid, mindless superhero stuff, and that was a blast. But I would like to do a structured format. This is evolving. This is only the second time I'm doing it, so I think like you come in and tell me about who you're picking. Like today's Batman, Moon Knight. So
okay,
who are you picking first off?
Okay, the premise here matters.
Okay, so this is we're just talking about who right now.
Why do you like this? Boom.
Why not even a fight yet? We're not even at the fight stage. Why did you pick Batman over Moon Knight, or why did you pick Moon Knight over Batman? And we're not even talking about beating up your character. Like what character do you like?
Okay, yeah.
What are some of their highlights? What are some of their best stories? Who had better stories? Who had better highs? Who had better lows? Because without flaws, a character's not that interesting either.
So I'm gonna pick Batman.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay. Because just for devil's advocate, unless somebody else shows up, I'll pick Moon Knight.
Okay.
Do the counter argument.
Oh, okay. So we've all read. I'm assuming we've read the David Finch. The guy was Houston, the guy who wrote it, right? Where he did Taskmaster versus Moon Knight.
Okay.
Right. And Taskmaster is if nothing else, he's highly skilled at what he's doing. Right. Okay. He may lack a bunch of other things, but he's good at that. Okay. He's no slouch in the combat.
I just realized something. Before, tell us who you are, and you have a comic. So let's put your comic in the chat too. So you're participating. You deserve to have some promo.
Yeah. Give me 2 seconds, okay?
Yeah, sure. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just thought that would be this is a perfect time. Everybody's making comics. Batman could beat the entire Justice League, so enough said. So again, let's just hope. So it's clobber time. The premise is we're a bunch of geeks hanging out in the comic book store, talking about our favorite characters. And rather than just make it Batman beats up Moon Knight because of this, we'll talk about I like this character because of these reasons. And then if you like Batman, you tell about his best stories, talk about some of his worst stories. We're talking about the character overall rather than just beat him up. And then I figured the last segment we'll do the actual fight. So there you go.
This is my book, Shadowpunk.
There you go.
Right? There you go. You can't buy it right now because my campaign was over like last year. But when I do the second issue, I'm going to have a catch up tier. So I'm going to definitely. I think a lot of people will end up getting both because.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. So my name is Matt Simachek. When I started,
what your real name was, and sometimes I don't even bring it up because it's just awkward. Well, I don't want to use my name, and I don't. You know what I mean?
yeah, I don't mind.
I know you were Shadowpunk. You don't even have a real name. Your name is Shadowpunk.
Well, you know what it was? I didn't know when I started the whole thing. I figured people put their name of their book in the thing.
Right.
And so the first stream I went on, it was so easy if people called me Shadowpunk. And I'm like, that's kind of the name of my book, but I guess I'll stick to it, right? I don't know.
And then your next comic book will be the Grasshopper Man, and I'm like, I'm still Shadowpunk, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
you know, some things in life stick. When they stick, they stick.
Right.
Right.
Anyway, fears are absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
We all comic book people. We know we're prickly pears, and there's no way I'm backing up an issue 2 of a comic that I can't get issue 1. It's self. So only one person that I know in my couple of years now of doing this said that, issue 1, issue 2 is gone. If you got a cap on issue 3, and I'm like,
well, you know what it is. Not to derail the whole thing here, is that it does cost a lot of money to print the next. When I print the next batch of these, it's going to cost me a big amount of money, right? So it's like the guy you're talking about might have printed 500 copies, but he sold them all. Now he's stuck because you have to spend another $2,000 to get more books. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you put a catch-up tier, know how many to print.
Totally. And you know what? You go to conventions, you're going to use them at conventions and whatnot, Okay, so I'm going to pick Batman.
Okay. All right.
And because Batman, in my mind, can kind of handle anybody, but he has to have foreknowledge. Right? If you throw him in a room and say, here's the guy all of a sudden you're going to fight, that's a different thing.
Well, this is your argument. We're not setting up the parameter. We're just talking about the character itself right now. So whatever you want to envision and argue about that, I'll just sit here and geek out and listen.
Yeah, that is my premise. Okay, so Batman can handle Superman to a large degree if he knows ahead of time. Okay, so if you take that premise and you extrapolate it, you can go, you know what? Moon Knight's not going to be that hard to deal with, but the problem is that if he just walks into an arena, if the watcher is standing there and all of a sudden the game master puts him in a thing out of nowhere, it's a different thing because the Moon Knight can take damage onto himself and just continue to go, right? And I think that's a different thing altogether. And I think if you did it that way, it would be really close. I would actually give Moon Knight the edge because I think that while he's taking damage to his body, heavy damage, it won't matter. He's almost like he's not undead, but he has a spirit moving through him that's going to continue to push him forward, right? So Batman is obviously, in my mind, more skilled in martial arts. Okay. Even though Mark Spector,
my wife is over here nodding at the things that you're saying, and she's a normie. She's Team Batman.
Okay.
Would that be safe to say? Yeah, she likes Batman.
I mean, even if you go, Batman over the last 50 years has become almost superhuman. Okay, they've really blown him out of proportion.
To me, it's almost ridiculous to say that he's a normal human at this point.
And it's almost ridiculous to think that he can chew through steel. But they could probably say he would figure out a way something crazy like that, right? I mean,
somehow Batman is overpowered for a non-powered character.
Yes, I mean, and he has to be the greatest at everything. He's almost like Tom Cruise. Okay, he's the best at everything. Okay, so
would it be fair to say Batman's a Mary Sue?
No. He is just a guy. He's just a character, in my mind, at least, that has sort of been power creep would be the right term, right? Over the decades.
Every superhero has power creep,
and he's so cool.
And I dismiss that as because I'm a role player and I play my superhero role playing game. That's them just leveling up. They get experience points in every adventure, and they're leveling up. They get so power creep. I don't know if you're in year 10 of the patriarch and the patriarch doesn't get more powerful, then I guess he's not leveling up. He's not getting the experience points.
Yeah, I mean,
So I write off the power creep. I just accept it.
I understand. The thing is also is that Batman's such an awesome character.
Yes.
Nobody really wants to see him ultimately lose. Okay, so even in the JLA Avengers crossover, the Kurt Busiek wrote, George Perez,
yeah.
So even in that one, they did this thing with Captain America where he goes, Avenger, and we could do this for a long time, and it's conceivable that you could beat me. He doesn't say it's inevitable. He said it's possible.
Yeah, right? That was the closest he's going to say that Captain America, you're going to kick my ass.
And that's like one of those things where you just go, just pick a side, Kurt. And you can't win. This is your lame way of winning all the Marvel and all the DC people, right? I mean, I'm not saying.
Oh, here we have a supervillain that defeated Batman. Tom King defeated Batman.
Tom King did. The power of the CIA brain.
Marcus, come on in if you want. Come on in.
So, so Batman. But even if you pull back and you get like a realistic version of Batman in the DC universe, he's highly competent. His most powerful skill is his brain, right? Because he's the man with the plan,
right?
He's not some of these other superheroes. Even in the JLA Avengers thing, he goes, they're fighting Terminus, and he goes, he's in the background, and he's like, it's the staff, right? It's the staff, and he points at it, and they're going to fight. Superman could fight that guy forever and never win, but it's knowing what to do to solve the problem. So that's his greatest asset, right? And so he would actually probably figure out there's something going on with Moon Knight, right? There's something more beyond physical happening with this guy, something supernatural. I'm sure that he would size it up. The question is, if you threw him in a room blind, would he have the time to figure that out?
Right.
And because you're not going to find a solution in the belt for that one, right?
Anti-Moon Knight spray.
Yeah, or like a crucifix with holy water or something, right? I mean, it's not going to come about. And so in a comic book, he would leave, he'd get his butt kicked, and then he would leave and go, I got to talk to Dr. Fate, right? Or something like along that lines, right? And Dr. Fate would say, you need the medallion of whatchamacallit. Something like that, right?
Yeah, or like Great Worm says, wait till the new moon, and then you can take him to justice or something.
Right. That's a cool idea, actually, because I forgot Moon Knight is like that. But yeah. in the recent version, in the David Finch version, it wasn't really. I don't think the moon might have been a factor, but it was his faith in his deity.
Okay.
And his deity was.
I have to admit that I haven't read any new Batman or Moon Knight since 2015, so my knowledge might be a little dated.
This came out probably in 2005.
Oh, okay. So then I should have these. Okay.
David Finch crushed it.
Outstanding. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And this is one of his. He did Avengers after this.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I got those.
But this was like everybody's like, "Whoa, what the heck is this stuff?" I mean, he's like Frank Frazetta on comics. It felt like, right? So I don't know what you think about it. That's kind of my take. I do think that. Okay, let's just also be honest here. Okay, because no matter how this falls, it's kind of lame that there's no way the Batman can lose. Even though I think he would win.
If that's the way he wins because he's Batman. Let me put this another way. When I was in 6th grade, I used to bring comics to school all the time. I had a folder, and I'd just bring my favorite comics. I cringe now thinking that folder was filled with my Byrne, Austin, Claremont X-Men's, and I used to bring them.
Really?
You know what I mean? How beat up did they get because of that?
Really?
But I remember it was like, hey, free time, let's read comics. And I remember this kid Andy used to say, I'm not into comics. The superheroes always win. It's boring.
Oh,
and I was like, the superheroes always win, but it's not boring. And he was like, well, then you already, so he's right, but he's wrong, but he's right. So if Batman always wins, then Batman's boring, but superheroes always win. So yeah, Richard C. Meyer always says, like, the guy whose name is on the book or the woman whose name is on has to do something cool in every issue. And to me, that's the excitement of it. Like, what cool thing could Moon Knight do, or what cool thing could Batman do? But ultimately, if the comic says Batman, Batman's winning. And ultimately, if the comic, so like, does the meta come into it? Like, Batman is more popular, so does that translate into beating Moon Knight?
Unfortunately, that is a horrible thing that is real, because yeah, I mean, people want to see Batman ultimately win because he's a better designed, better conceived character, right? In my mind, Batman is an A-list character because he's so well conceived.
Right.
People like the Silver Surfer and Moon Knight, they are top list B characters, and they fit a perfect role, right? I mean, the Silver Surfer is unbelievably awesome, but his depth of his character isn't as relatable as Batman, right? Because we don't have the power cosmic, but we can work out and learn martial arts.
Yeah,
right?
but we can yearn for lost home and lost love.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
There's a lot to relate to.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, and that's what I liked about Jack Kirby.
Awesome.
They made it insane. I mean, let's be realistic. If somebody just said to you, Silver Surfer, he's a silver guy, rides a surfboard in space, and didn't tell you anything, you'd be like, that's the stupidest character. But they made us like this stupid character. But yeah.
Well, you know what it is? I think that those guys, like Kirby especially, he has spent decades in the comic industry coming up with crazy stuff. Maybe that didn't work. Yeah. He actually did a Spider-Man type guy that didn't work, right? Steve Ditko dialed it in perfect. But so by the time he was in the Middle Ages, he was ready to make these kick-ass characters.
Yeah. Cyborg was a C-list character for most of his existence, and then leveled up. Iron Man was a B-list character until the movie came out. I think people vaguely knew who Iron Man was, but they didn't really.
I think you might be right about that, because
look at Scarlet Witch. She's now an A-list character, and she was a D-list character before.
But that is true. But you know what though? No, hold on. She's not A-list. She may be power level. She may be powerful. I think she's a horrendous character because she's fill in the blank whenever we need it character.
Oh yeah. If I may be self-promoting at this point, she's the inspiration for my character of Mary Sue, which is debuting in
cool
number 2. It's Scarlet Witch's powers done correctly. So
I always liked the Scarlet Witch in the original ones.
I always loved the Scarlet Witch in the comics, but the movie character is a different character.
It's so weird, and it's like I was watching her like take on Thanos. I'm like, oh, what? I liked you better when you made people trip.
Right. Like, if you ask Paul Feige what's Scarlet Witch's power, he would be like, well, it's plot, So
yeah, So anyway, I think characters have a place that is important. When you have the Avengers, it's important that not everybody is A-list.
Correct.
The Ant-Man and the Wasp are perfect where they are, right? And they're niche. And I think it's like, any writer will figure that out. I'm an artist and I can figure it out, right? Putting things together in your story to make things work. It's important to make sure everybody isn't A-list. So
the fact, this is meta. This is so the fact that Batman is an A-list character and Moon Knight is B or C list. Does that mean Batman wins?
I don't think it should mean that, but I think
because
you have to just face the fury of the fans if you have a different opinion. Because and the other thing too that was it Chuck Dixon who broke Batman's back. Right. And to me, that is awesome because it says you're not infallible.
Right.
And, this dynamic of you losing first and coming back, well, we're going to make it as vicious as possible. Right. And to me, that is a really fun thing to do with a character. Like, because fans will read it and go, okay, here we go. He's getting knocked down, and then he comes back, And it was better in the cheesy days of early Marvel, where things aren't realistic as much as they are today, or as they were when we were growing up. That stuff could fly. But I mean, now it's like Batman's getting his back broken. There's not the Riddler's not throwing darts at him or something stupid like that. I mean, he's getting his spine broken.
So when I if anybody, wow, 40 people watching, thank you everybody. But if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I didn't buy DC Comics in the 70s for the most part. Like my older brothers would pick up comics and whatever, so they were always around, but I didn't seek them out. I found them to be a little too goofy for my tastes. Having said that, I started collecting Batman around the Crisis on Infinite Earths, I think right before it. And one of those early ones, I'm trying to remember who wrote it. I did a video on it where Batman responds to a legitimate crime. Oh, we got another person. Hey, Marcus.
Hey, sorry. How's it going?
Okay. I was just explaining something. So Batman responds to like a hugging, and this character, Joe Potato, who's a private eye, shows up at the same time. Batman mistakes him for one of the thugs, and they fight. And Joe Potato, who's a heavy character, he's actually an old character from the 50s, he beat the crap out of Batman. And I thought that was awesome. Hey, Marcus, you're making so much noise.
Yeah, this isn't working right. I'll be back.
Okay. Yeah. So Joe Potato beat the crap out of Batman, and Batman had to leave. And then around that time, Batman would see a bunch of muggers, and he'd be like, seven guys. All right. And then he would like go into an alleyway, take one out, swing across the street, get them panicky, herd them, and take them out over time. And I thought that was so exciting. So now, Batman, you throw Batman on Apocalypse, and within 7 pages, he got Darkseid in a stranglehold. And
right.
So I old timer, old fart man over here, and I totally admit it. My card's right on the table. I like the average Batman, the thinking Batman. I like the Batman as the detective, who figures out what to do, and then he doesn't mind stepping back and be like, okay, Hawkman, you take out that guy.
Right.
And you do that, because I'm just a guy in a silly costume. But
I think that when they create, at some point in the JLA, Batman became that character you just described.
Right.
Because everybody else could kind of do it better. Maybe they figured that out. Like Superman's there, right? I mean, we don't need you to start running in that direction, Batman, right? So so that's. And in all the Batman books on his own, like Detective Comics and Batman and whatever, those he's never just the thing you just described there. He's also on the ground fighting people, right? So,
like one of the things I didn't like was Punisher beats the Marvel Universe. I mean, it was I don't want to say jokey comic, but like an Elseworld, whatever, where the Punisher takes out everybody in the Marvel Universe and he's the last hero standing. I don't like that either, because I like Frank Castle as a guy that suffers and uses tactics and struggles and fights and also limits himself. I'm not taking out the good guys, so I don't know. I like the human Batman. And
yeah.
I think it was the JLA Grant Morrison turned him into what they call the Bat God. And yeah, well, I mean, the fans call it the Bat God era. I think it was Grant Morrison. Maybe I'm wrong. But I also subscribe to the John Byrne point of view of the specialist is the best.
Oh, okay.
So meaning that the Flash's specialty is speed. So therefore he has to be faster than Superman. Batman is the world's greatest detective, meaning he is the best detective, meaning he's not the best fighter. So like Iron Fist without powers would beat Batman or Shang-Chi. You know what I mean? If we made this amalgamated conglomerate world,
I see what you're saying.
Superman is, to me, my way of thinking, like shouldn't if you just limit it to fist, the Hulk should beat Superman, because the Hulk is the strongest there is. So that's to me is the John Byrne.
Yeah, well, just the fists, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You add flight and defying gravity to that. Hulk doesn't have a chance.
Well, the thing about it is though,
hey, Marcus, you figured that out.
Why my earphones have not been working when I'm in StreamYards.
Yeah, I use my headphones too, and I don't know if you heard that disgusting, awful feedback loop. And
I didn't hear it today.
Oh my God, it was awesome.
Really?
Oh yeah, I have a Frankenstein system, and my computer's dying. So
can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're fine now. Everything's
way better.
Just everybody in the chat, just let Marcus know he sounds good, because we all know Marcus looks good.
And you know what?
Marcus? I've been horrible at introducing people.
I've never met him. Nice to meet you. Hey, yeah, and your camera is much better because you're farther away, and your shirt it looks way.
Yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah, hold on. My new shirt I got for Father's Day.
Oh, nice. Cool. To me, that is when Iron Man was really cool, because he was always desperate to solve his heart problem, and time was always running out for him. And they turned him into Reed Richards in the movies,
right?
Which worked for the movies, But it's like now all of a sudden it's like, it's not the same. But here's the thing about Superman, though, in the JLA, like you're describing, is that he can be. I think he could be better than all those other people, but he also has a major weakness. As a matter of fact, he has and kryptonite, and he has magic, and he has the red sun.
Right.
And so to me, like he's so flawed that you could make him better than even the Flash. But it's like Flash doesn't have those problems, right? So, but it's a cool theory. I like it. So
going with that, if the specialist, and again, I'm just talking because I think this is a fun geeky topic to talk about. Giving the John Byrne the specialist, if Batman being the greatest detective, what is Moon Knight's specialty?
He is. Marcus might want to tune in with it, chime in on this one. In my mind,
because he's the mercenary. So would he be?
No, he is obviously he's not the best at martial arts. He's not the best at, but he's good. Right? But he's really good.
He's the craziest detective.
Yeah, he's the craziest detective, but he can take damage onto himself. And if you slash his face off, he continues to come at you with those spikes, those bloody knuckles.
I think his personality could give him an advantage.
That's cool.
I agree with you, Marcus. That's where I was kind of leading towards. If you remember the Watchmen, when Night Owl was talking about Rorschach, he said he's a tactical genius. He's completely unpredictable. So I think, people like, oh, this hands down. I think, the Beyonder puts them in battle world or whatever. Oh, we're already getting to the battle part. I think Moon Knight beats the crap out of Batman because he's completely unpredictable. Just look at how much trouble Batman has with the Joker. Now, just imagine the Joker as a physical powerhouse, and then forget about the phases of the moon powers, stuff like that. I think, throw it in. They got to fight. Moon Knight is unpredictable. Batman is logical. And I think Batman would be a little confused. This guy's not moving right. He's doing stupid thing. And of course, the second time, it's a different story. Yeah. Yeah, that's Batman's thing. Is like whatever does not kill him makes him stronger.
Does this Moon Knight have the super strength and full moon?
Oh, forget about super strength and full moon. The first encounter, Batman might not even survive. And that.
Okay, but hold on. Let's stop here. Okay, so but we also I know you mentioned the Joker, but we do realize that in the history of Batman, he's fought characters that are supernatural, that are quasi mega strong, way stronger than Moon Knight, right? And he's beaten those people. So you have to give him some, even though the Joker analogy is a good one, the writer, there's no really consistency across Unfortunately, so
Unfortunately, over 70 years of a character, consistency gets thrown out the window. That's why, oh man, guys. First off, I just want to address this is Cooper from the Rabbit Hole. If this is true, do you have an issue number? If he's so crazy the taskmaster won't copy that is just a cool thing. I never heard that, but again, I stopped reading Marvel DC.
That's the storyline I'm talking about.
I think that's brilliant. But this is one of the caveats that I kind of make. We're talking about the average, typical version of the character. I'm sure somebody could find a Batman story from the 60s where he had godlike powers, and could snap planets. We're not talking about that Batman.
No,
and that always drove me nuts about the old message boards is somebody would be like, well, Batman has a spaceship that he counted, and the spaceship's got 6,000 guns, but he doesn't have that every issue.
The 50s, early 60s can't count. Crazy science fiction Batman can't count. But the Neil Adams Batman, the Irv Novick, the ones that I read up until, I guess, Crisis. I didn't read them that much, or a little after Crisis. That Batman could get defeated. This Batman today.
Right. I like the
I want to do that Batman and Jim Aparo with the normal superhero suit, not the armor. I miss that Batman. Maybe I'll post that tomorrow.
It's really important.
Old Dirty Fatty, that is a deep cut. If anybody gets that reference, put it in the chat.
I've never seen that. That's crazy.
I don't know. I'm not a big fan, but I got that reference.
This is bad logic. A tweaking crackhead could, yeah, but Moon Knight's not a tweaking crackhead. Moon Knight is also physical perfection, trained, tempered with experience. You know what I mean?
Well,
I think Rorschach would give Batman a run for his money. You know what I mean?
No way.
I didn't say he would win. I just said it would be.
Well, Captain America can beat Batman, so there's that.
Okay, hold on. Are you? Okay, let me tell you how.
We're getting our first heated argument right here.
Let me tell you how the Batman Captain America thing would go down, because it might apply to the Moon Knight thing. Okay, in my opinion, if you throw him in a room, Batman would lose. Okay, here's the problem. If Batman and Captain America fight, at one point, Batman's going to realize this guy's not a villain. Okay, right. And I'm not going to pull the cord of blood technique on this guy and kill him instantly, because it's going to come down to close hand combat. Okay, because Cap's experienced. He's going to corner him eventually, right? He's going to dodge all the bullshit he throws his way, and he's going to come down to. And Batman's going to have to make a decision at the end. Do I kill this guy? And then he's going to go, you know what? I know he's not evil. I can tell.
I agree with you. I think
I will not kill him.
Conclusion to a Batman Captain America fight is Batman is like, this guy's a hero. And then together they figure out a way to defeat the Beyonder or the Watcher.
That's probably true. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing,
Dale, it's ridiculous. Batman has survived an encounter with this whole concept is ridiculous. That's what makes it fun. It is. Don't anybody get offended. This is fun. I'm not
Punisher though.
What's that?
I think that if the worlds merged, let's pretend for a minute that Marvel and DC, whatever, they're going out of bankruptcy, and Elon Musk buys both companies and they just merge them all. I think Batman would be obligated to go after the Punisher.
He would.
And that would be a great comic. Oh man, wouldn't you love? What's that meme of the guys just going like this with the money?
If Elon Musk buys the companies, maybe I get a job. Since my son works for him,
oh, cool.
I'll get you writing comics. Mainstream.
John Byrne and Batman had Cap pretty evenly matched.
This
is going to be taken the wrong way, and I don't know if I'm going to eloquently state it, but I think Captain America is more simple than Batman. Like, I think Bruce Wayne is thinking on more levels, whereas Captain America is more regimented. You know what I mean? So I think Batman, because physically, Captain America is a powerhouse. Like, just physically,
and Captain America, because of the Secret Soldier Serum, his blood doesn't fatigue.
Oh, that's a good point. I forgot about that.
Right. So I think Cap's a combat machine, tactically and physically, and Batman is a problem solving genius.
Right.
Right. So I think, if any of these guys, if you have 15 minutes ahead of time, you go, Moon Knight can absorb damage, Cap, combat machine, tactical, good guy, right? I mean, then he can beat both those guys. 15 minutes ahead of time, Batman could do it. Okay. But that's not the scenario we're talking about.
What if Batman had power? So do you think if Batman had powers, that would radically change the character? Yeah. And if I remember correctly, wasn't there like a story where he rejected powers that he thought it would make him weak or something?
Really?
And inversely, there was a story where all the superheroes lost their powers and Batman just dominated because he used to not having power. Like Superman was almost like his sidekick,
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, totally. That's fucking funny as hell.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if that was a JLA comic or if that was an Elseworlds, but I forget. Yeah, Captain America's better than him, but Batman cheats.
That's not true at all.
I see Captain America cheat a few times.
Captain America is not a better hand-to-hand combat guy than Batman. He is just not. Like you're talking martial arts skill, right? Because if you go in DC,
what's that meme where the guy's head's blowing up? I can't believe I've been reading my comic books all my life and I never thought about Batman versus Dr. Doom. It's so obvious, and now I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight because I'm going to be thinking about Batman versus Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom's got a fatal weakness.
That sounds like issue number 13 of Heroic Tales.
Yeah, I got to make up a Dr. Doom analog.
I'm just assuming you have the first year 12 already done, so in your head.
I got about 20 issues in various forms of outlines, but I got
God.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
not Doom. We'd give Superman. Yeah, Doom. Oh man, Doom. Okay, you just gave me a whole lot another idea for another time. But so I think we've been talking for 37 minutes. Let's get into what are some of Batman's greatest achievements. What are some of Moon Knight's greatest achievements?
Marcus?
Oh, well, Batman is Batman. What's his greatest achievements? I mean, he survived all these years without getting.
Yeah, we could go into meta. We could talk about the sales, and he's a juggernaut. They made movies and toys.
I mean, he's one of the biggest characters of the world.
Right.
There's Mickey Mouse, Batman, Tarzan. He goes right up in there. Those iconic characters.
Oh, you better believe that there's going to be an It's Clobbering Time Bugs Bunny versus Mickey Mouse.
Right.
But
is this true? The Lazarus Pit gives Batman. If that's the case, then Batman's. They can't claim that he's an ordinary human.
I would hope that isn't true.
I don't know that. I don't. There was a point where Captain America had super strength, but they got rid of it.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah. So.
And he had the shield that he could control, remote control.
Oh yeah.
What he's saying down there though is true about the Marvel Universe. But everybody knows Batman is the greatest martial. If you go on the DC website, they'll say he's the greatest martial artist in the world.
But isn't he the second greatest in the DC universe?
Lady Shiva is probably
Lady Shiva.
But Lady Shiva has the power though.
But first though, I mean, modern DC women are first.
That's true.
Did she teach Green Arrow's son how to fight too?
Yeah, Connor Hawke. Yeah, he's supposed to be the second best. And then Richard Dragon was the best at one point, and they forgot about him. That was that whole point of that. There was that miniseries written by Denny O'Neil that established the pecking order of the hand-to-hand combatants. And Batman didn't even make the top 5, but that was
19.
That was before JLA, before Batman became
before
there's a couple
Batman
guys
a walking ultimate nullifier.
Yeah.
The greatest power is not having powers.
In the Marvel Universe, there's a couple guys who are the actual greatest martial artists and the Marvel Universe. One of these guys, his name is Mr. X, and he was part of the Silvestri era of Wolverine.
Okay.
And then he was, and there was another guy named, I think it was Goguen, and he was part of the Wolverine. Like over the years, Wolverine met these people, and they are if you read the Marvel Universe, the new ones, they rate these guys on a scale. So 1 through 6. Okay, so 1 through a 5 means you've mastered one form of martial arts. No, 4 you master one. a 5 you master multiple, and a 6 you master all.
Okay.
And these Mr. X had a 6, and they gave Wolverine a 6 because he's the most popular, right? I mean, okay, but
Yeah, but you never see Wolverine fighting with grace and style, and
I don't think martial artist at all.
Yeah.
No, he is. They
characters are brawlers, as a matter of fact.
The way they portray him in the book is like a brawler with skill, but in the Marvel universe, the way they list his powers is that he says Wolverine has mastered every form of physical combat. So take what you think is worth, right?
And talk about another overpowered character over the years.
Chuck Dixon wrote that the Brotherhood of the Fist. Yes, is this what I was talking about? The Brotherhood of the, because I know Denny O'Neil did a Richard Dragon series.
There was,
and then Chuck Dixon also did the Brotherhood of the Fist, which was in all of the comics that he just happened to be. He was like, "Listen, I'm writing 4 comics. Let's do a through line through all of them."
Cool.
How does
the
Chuck?
Karate Kid is the greatest. Yeah, because he knows super karate. I always thought that was funny. The Karate Kid knows super karate.
You know, I know that you didn't like 70s DC, and I understand why you didn't like it. Okay, because it doesn't have the impact of the serious Marvel stuff. But when you really go to look at it, it's really like Green Lantern with the hammer that's green.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool stuff.
You know, I'm changing my mind. You know, I've been getting some not golden age, silver age, just and it's charming. I don't take it as I think it's because I stopped getting Marvel and DC. I'm like no longer emotionally invested in the new stuff.
Oh.
I can look at that silver age stuff and just to enjoy it for what it is. You know, I'm reading a lot of the original Doom Patrols. I bought a whole bunch of them a while ago, and I'm finally getting around to reading them, and they make no sense. They're silly.
Really?
They're very contrived, but they're charming. Same with these early Justice Leagues. I'm up to issue 12 of the early Justice League, and it's, okay, the threat comes. Let's split, and they'll put Superman, Martian Manhunter, and Wonder Woman on one team, and the other team is like Snapper, Carr, and Green Arrow. It's
right.
Like, they don't even put any thought into breaking up a team to be power level. Here's an interesting question. Where'd it go? Oh, the chat's actually moving pretty quick. Here we go. DCC. What powers would you give Batman if you could?
Well, that's like saying if you want to ruin the character, what would you do?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to knock what DC.
Yeah, do you want to put mayonnaise on a steak or something like that? But let's just say we're doing that. Let's just say that we have no choice. Editorial decree is saying that Batman's getting powers. Like,
if I had to give him powers, I mean, and you didn't want to totally ruin him, I would give him something that would work towards his ability to move through shadows.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Something dark.
Okay.
I would give him sonar. I mean, he is Batman.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
You know what I mean? Like that's part of my theory about superheroes. The code name, the powers, the costume, they all have to work together. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So if you're Batman, you have a bat costume and you have bat powers. What is the obvious bat powers? Flight and sonar. Light control does not fit Batman. That's why Spider-Woman with her venom blasts always. Even Spider-Man, we accept the Spidey sense, but it really doesn't fit Spider-Man.
Well, I'll give you another example of powers you can give Batman, and you guys can hang me on a cross, okay? But I actually really liked the Batman Beyond cartoon.
Yeah, they were good.
And I think it's almost Iron Man-ish, okay? Right. I mean, they're not totally as powerful, but it's like up there, right? He has gadgets in his suit. Right, you can do more, and so if I was going to go any direction, maybe I would go that direction. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
well, he's kind of that direction already. I mean, a little.
Yeah, well, I personally don't like.
True.
I don't like Batman when he becomes Iron Man. That's why I don't like the Tim Burton Batman movies, because they just shoot him in the chest, boom, 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 and then we all know he drops that bomb and blows up the chemical factory, and then the Penguin one, he has machine guns and. That's not Batman. But this Great Gold Worm, he says, imagine Batman with super clairvoyant. He touches. To me, that would diminish Batman as the greatest detective.
That's true.
They don't. They have.
if Batman could just do this and solve the crime, the whole comic book is just him chilling out with Robin. You know what I mean?
So here's the question: who's really a better detective, Batman or Jessica Fletcher?
Who's Jessica Fletcher?
Murder, She Wrote.
Oh.
At the
well, it must be her because she doesn't have any powers. she's just a fragile old lady.
That's right.
Or Batman or Sherlock Holmes.
That's right. Well, they had him team up with Batman and Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Isn't there something about Batman that A, we all want to be billionaires, and B, we all want to be able to use our willpower and our brains to solve problems and get things done. Right.
And I don't want to be crazy subservient to a whimsical Egyptian god either,
I mean,
we all know who's winning, Batman, because we've been spending 40 minutes talking about Batman, 6 minutes talking about Moon Knight.
I mean, you made it, I think you made a pretty good case the other way though. Because you're like, and I think it could be true that if Batman just walks in out of nowhere and it's go time, then it would be different. And my favorite version of Moon Knight is the one with the spike brass knuckles, the one that David Finch did, where he's on the cover.
I definitely had those comments. So, what geeks do? We didn't decide yet. We're still talking. We're still hashing it out. And this is going exactly where I wanted. We're talking about the characters, the stories.
Talk more about Batman, because how long has Batman been around? Even with the iterations of this changed, that changed. He's still Bruce Wayne. He's still got a cow with ears. And Moon Knight, they don't know what to do with him because he's basically a Batman pastiche.
Right.
And he's got 15
right. Batman was
got rid of
response to
Khonshu, and then they got rid of that. Then he had a suit, which I didn't read. Then he's on TV with the suit. Like, they don't really know what to do with him. So Batman, it's just Batman. It's always Batman. Basically, you could still do a successful Batman today if you took away all that crazy stuff that they do. And, like, when we made fun of Tom King, but he was just Batman in the suit, and when Catwoman walked out of him at that point. So Batman as a character, I mean, obviously,
right. You're absolutely right. Moon Knight is a Batman derivative, and everything they do is to differentiate him from Batman. Like, I love that early Doug Mensch run with Bill Sienkiewicz artwork. My friend Jimmy and I, we read that over and over and over again. We discussed it. We talked about it. When we started playing our role-playing games, we tried to make characters that were Moon Knight ripoffs. I mean, we were 14-year-old kids. That's what we do, 12-year-old kids. And then the next series, I remember getting really upset because he had the golden belt and he had the powers by the full moon and stuff like that. And I just bothered me because it wasn't the original run. But then I'm like, they're still trying to make him find his spot. He's Marvel's Batman, but he's still too much like Batman. So they changed him. And then I think then there was the Mark Spector run. He dropped the identities. That to me was a mistake. I thought the other identities was part of the phases of the moon. They focused on him being right. And that's the Chuck Dixon run, and I feel bad saying that, but
they made that an omnibus and everything. I had a few of those, but it didn't hook me like the first ones did.
I think the David Finch runs. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, those are the ones where they play up the fact that he's crazy.
Yeah,
and I thought that was like, okay, now he's his own. Nobody's going to say he's the Batman ripoff anymore. He's the Batman derivative. But now I think he's finding his own way, because nobody says that Thor is a Superman derivative when he was. They say Marvel,
that Spider-Man's a Superboy derivative, which I don't. But when you think about it, maybe they're it's all Daredevil. I mean, they're all derivative.
Right, Superman. Marvel said we need a Superman type. They got a guy who could fly in a red cape and a blue costume, but they made him so different that when I say that Thor was a Superman derivative, some people get surprised.
Well, there's
little bit. I mean, Thor's. I saw Stan Lee talk about it, and I think that A, the characters already exists, and B, they didn't have to pay any copyright problems with it, right? So, I mean, you're right. Because the original mythical character isn't in a red cape. So that's a good point you make. Then, yeah, they added that to make him look probably more.
If you read the really early Thors, like Jack Kirby started, and then after he left, when he came back, they added all the Norse myths. Stanley even brought in Superman writers.
Really?
To write it, and they were clearly Superman style.
Wow.
Stories.
It's kind of cool that both companies know they're kind of ripping each other off, and they go, fine. That's just the way this industry is going.
Told Stan Lee to make a super team of all your best characters. And that's where he made the event. Like, hey, JLA selling. Take all your best characters, put them in one book. Boom, they got the event. And then who knows who ripped off who with the X-Men and Doom Patrol. Coop is
not right.
Is accusing us of being Batman simps. I want it going on record that I love Moon Knight. But I'm trying to be, and I'm just about laughing at myself trying to be objective about comic book characters. But you know what
And I think of Batman, so there's that.
I tell you what, like I said before, I think that Moon Knight is an excellent B-level character that is so cool. And I think the Batman is an A-level character because he's more boiled down to be awesome. And both are, there's some versions of Batman I do not like, but there's some I really love, just like everybody else, right? I mean, I like heroes to be physically in trouble. I like them, the last thing you want is Batman to be like so tough that you can't take him out ever.
Oh my, I'm sorry. I just got my brain exploded by this comment by Dirty Fatty. I wish we had a real hardcore gamer here who has the Marvel Universe game and the DC game and could play the characters in about. You have them both?
No, I played it not both those when I was a kid. That's why I played HeroClix later.
Dirty Fatty, I'm on it. I can't promise anything, but I'm on it. That is a great idea. Oh my God, Shadowpunk! I'm sorry I interrupted you.
You know what it is? Have you ever played those games, John?
Yes, I have. I never played the DC game. I played the Marvel game.
The DC game is really cool, and Jose Garcia Lopez did all the artwork for it, and it's fucking cool. Okay, when you do those games, you end up going, I'm just going to play HeroClix. I hate it because
that's it. You just came up with the work because I didn't want to buy these games. I didn't want to learn the systems, and but HeroClix, that's on. That's it. I'm gonna find a because they also have like Batman HeroClix, but I'm gonna find a Batman. I'm gonna find a Moon Knight, and I'll do a HeroClix battle. Great suggestion, old Dirty Fatty.
If you ever want me to explain how to play the game, because I've played this since the beginning, and I can easily explain it to you. You let me know if you ever want me to do that.
I played I'm looking over there, but Star Trek Fleet Captains, which is
close,
which is HeroClix Star Trek, and it's my favorite Star Trek game.
And what they do in the game is they have every set of DC, they'll have a new version of Batman, for example, or characters people like, right? So they buy the sets. So they'll have a Batman with the kryptonite gloves, and his stats are a little bit different than the JLA Batman,
right?
Who can do different things, right? And they're all kind of different. They have a Batman that is sitting in Metron's chair, right? So it's totally different from the character. They have a vampire Batman.
Have you ever played a game called Unmatched? It's a fighting game, and it's supposed to be a 2-on-2, but they have Moon Knight in that game, so you could play. But they don't. But they I don't want to say they lost the rights to the Marvel character. Like they have Ghost Rider, they have She-Hulk, they have Spider-Man, they have Moon Knight, Deadpool, but they never got the DC rights. I hear rumors that they're going to do the DC rights, whereas Unmatched they wouldn't put Superman. But I tell you, because I love Unmatched, it's a great system. I could teach anybody how to play that in 10 seconds, and everybody's like, "Oh, I got it," and play. If they do the DC rights, they are going to make a Batman because first off, money. Second off, it's a street level game. It would be perfect. Oh my God, that would be so much fun to have a Batman versus Moon Knight.
Is it a video game?
No, it's a board game. It's a
Oh,
miniatures board game.
really?
Yeah, like it started out with legendary like Sherlock Holmes, the Invisible Man, Bigfoot, and Bruce Lee.
Oh,
You know, it's so
I
it's
see.
and they added like Jurassic Park. So and then now they're doing mythological figures like characters that I don't really know from India and China. And they did Sinbad, they did Jason from Jason and the Argonauts and Harpies and Dracula. And it's a real fun game.
You know what it is with those games is that they come up with new game systems and then they start plugging things into it like that. And if people like the systems, the games take off.
Oh, did DC ever do a Fantastic Four ripoff? Yes, it was Challengers of the Unknown, and it was before the Fantastic Four. Well, the Fantastic Four is the DC ripoff.
Jack
Really?
never left an idea that he didn't use again, which nobody
Second edition.
a lot
I'm
of.
thinking of video games. Is there a fighting game where Batman can fight Moon Knight in a fighting game? I have Moon Knight and City of Heroes. Is that a board game or
I think that's a role-playing game. City Hero. I remember City Heroes.
Doom Patrol is DC Fantastic Four? I always thought the Doom Patrol is the X-Men. Yeah, you can make your own HeroClix figurines pretty much, right?
I do have made them, yeah. Yeah. And so what they do is they have some characters are extremely rare. Like there's like a Thanos that is ultra chase, like a baseball card you never get, right?
Yeah.
And then there's common ones that are like also really good.
Messed up my. The next one has got the link.
There you go.
Sorry,
It's okay.
I'm working two things at once.
It's okay. I'm just scrolling down without a read. Oh, I just like to point out that talk about role playing. This is my friend Kevin from when I went to college in Albuquerque. I probably played more Villains and Vigilantes with Kevin than anybody else. We all types of characters.
Can I ask you something about
Sure.
that? Do you remember? Because I can't find it. I have my Citadel, Cape Crusader Citadel, the module, and
Okay.
also I have the most wanted. I have one of them still, but there's one in there that has a character named Mongol. Do you remember him? He's like he's the strongest guy in Villains and Vigilantes. And
Mongo, yeah, he's from Dawn of the DNA, I think is
that's it.
yeah.
I gotta find it.
Mongo. Yeah, it's funny because they said Mongo responsible for the obliteration of Tallahassee in 1983.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was
Go punch the horse.
Mongo punched a horse. Yeah, Mongo. He's a big bald guy. 9x10. I remember that. 9x10. That's
Right.
Great Gold Worm. Yeah, Robot Man is Ben Grimm. And I always thought about that. They're even the same color. And Robot Man and Ben Grimm are the origin for my. I came up with this idea called the Pinocchio. Pinocchio. I forget who I was saying this to, but I said my favorite types of superheroes are the Pinocchios.
Yeah.
They're not human. Either they lost their humanity and they just want to be a real boy, or in the case of like Atomic Robo, if anybody knows, they never were human. But because of that, they value their humanity more than everybody else. And they're usually the nicest, most humane characters. Like Robot Man was the heart of the Doom Patrol, especially in the Grant Morrison Doom Patrol. And Ben Grimm is the heart of the Fantastic Four. He's a big, rocky guy, but he's a softy inside.
Wasn't Robot Man a 40s character as well?
Yes, there was an original 40s character called Robot Man who later joined the All-Star Squadron.
I mean, the name is so common, generic, right?
I would be surprised if there was other non-DC Robot Mans.
It'd be hard to trademark the name Robot Man.
Right. You brought up on Father's Day about Cyborg. Yeah, I love Cyborg. Cyborg to me is also a Pinocchio. He's the Thing. He was my favorite member of the I almost said Fantastic Four of the new Teen Titans.
Really?
Yeah, I have such a soft spot for the guy who lost it all. And like, because let's face it, when you're a comic book guy back in the 80s, it's different now with you young kids and this acceptance and tolerance. But in the 80s,
Right.
you hid that you played Dungeons and Dragons. You hid that you read comic books. You didn't
Totally.
So you always
Totally.
felt like you were an outsider. So when Ben Grimm is like, "Oh, I just want to fit in," you're like, "I just want to fit in too. Read my comic books in public." And then one day, my friends came over. I was on the football team. my friends came over and like, oh, I love Daredevil. I was falling asleep with a Daredevil comic. Oh, and oh, look at these comics. You know, the quarterback and all the cool guys. You know, I was like, oh, I've hid this for years and I didn't need to.
Right. It's one of those things where when things go mainstream, they kind of lose a little bit of their power.
Right. You know, I'll finish with this story, then we'll go back to Moon Knight and Batman. But my friend Jimmy, my childhood friend, he would me and Jimmy, we got into the band, the Butthole Surfers. Like, you know, I forget what, but that was like, I think, to get into music before everybody else. And we used to argue, and he was like, I used to say, I can't wait till I can walk into a bar, go up to the jukebox, and I'm playing the Melvins and the Butthole Surfers and Minor Threat and enjoy my beer listening to good music. And Jimmy's like, no, that's going to be the worst. That's going to be the worst. And now everybody likes my comic books. Everybody likes my bands, and everything's terrible. So Jimmy, you're 100% right.
Isn't that kind of, it's funny, and it's kind of a really cool thing how among your friends, you were tapped into this and they were tapped into this. They were smart. What I mean is they were smart about certain things. That's a great observation from Jimmy, right? I mean, I would never have got that, right? But it's like I had friends like that too, where they were really smart about certain topics, you know. And then, like my friends, I never liked the James Bonds as much when I was growing up because they felt formulaic and not real, right? I thought that something like Jason Bourne would be so much funner. And now that I'm older, while the Jason Bourne thing is fine, I see why the James Bond thing is better because it captures your imagination.
Yeah, people get shocked when I tell them I've never seen a James Bond movie.
Really?
Yeah, and I keep saying one of these days, you know, we get furloughs for work. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch every James Bond movie in order.
Well, if you do that, I would tell you to watch the ones I would recommend would be Goldfinger.
Thunderball.
Well, I got to start at the first one. Was it Dr. No?
Well, Doctor, I know you have to start at the first one.
I have to. Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll explode. But I mean, some of them are they're and the Roger Moore ones are cool because they're gimmicky, right? They're cool in a different way. I mean, the Thunderball is awesome because Sean Connery's fucking cool.
Yeah.
Right. That's why they're cool, but they're not gimmicky. Like Jaws doesn't show up until Roger Moore, and you're like, that's cool too, you know.
How did you miss the James Bond movies? They're only rerun in New York like every year. They do.
I mean, like you ever see those videos of like people telling Star Wars who've never seen Star Wars? Like I could do that because my dad watched them all. And, you know, as a kid, I'd be playing with my toys and James Bond would be on, but I never sat and said, all right, I'm gonna watch it, you know, uninterrupted. Me as an adult watching it. So, you know, I've seen them in.
I mean, they were all. But
here's another thing. I don't like action movies. I'm not an action movie guy. I just saw Die Hard a couple of months ago when it was released in the movie theater.
Yippee-ki-yay.
You know, and it was funny because Fabrizio Aiello, by the way, Fabrizio Aiello's 30. Oh, I scared Marcus. I said Fabrizio Aiello and you ran. I thought maybe you owed him money or something.
He's dreaming.
But Fabrizio Aiello does Horace H. Hoover, and issue number 3 is being released today on his website. And I don't know what his website is. So, and he's going to be on next week. We're going to talk about it. But anyway, he was busting my chops that I never saw Die Hard. And then Brian Bauer was like, you never saw Die Hard? And I found out they released it because the movie theaters were doing really bad. So they started playing older, good movies. So I told my wife, we're going to go see Die Hard in the movie theater. And she's like, I don't want to go. I've seen that movie. I'm going to go pay. I said, all right, well, I'm going without you then. I'm going to the movies. And so she's like, all right. And we were like yelling and screaming at the end of the movie. She's like, I'm so glad I saw that in a movie theater, you know, and we were laughing. I'm like, look, that guy's smoking. You know, there's people, they're at a party, people are smoking. There's for no reason, there's a girl topless. You know, I'm like, oh my God, the 80s were so different. You know, killing people, violence. It was a really good movie. I enjoyed it.
I love watching. I'm not a smoker, never been a smoker. But boy, do I love watching these old TV shows and movies. Boy, they're just lighting up. Watching Rockford Files or Kojak, and then Kojak is lighting up a cigarette. And what it does is it makes his personality like him, he looks cool. Like Kojak, the old bald.
Let's face it, people wouldn't smoke if
with the
it
black
didn't make him look cool.
And it gives him so much personality. We're all not allowed to do that anymore.
Yep.
The scene I always talk about smoking is when my wife and I first got married, we were like, you pick a movie and I'll pick a movie. So we were sharing some of our favorite movies, and I picked The Exorcist. So she's getting all nervous watching The Exorcist, first time since she's a little kid. And I go, stop, rewind that. And she got all scared. And it was the scene where the Exorcist, whatever, Linda Blair's mother is talking to the doctor. So they're in the doctor's office. The doctor lights up a cigarette and gives her a cigarette. And they're just sitting there both smoking. And I'm like, this is the doctor. This is the difference in the 70s right here. She's like, you almost gave me a heart attack to point out a cigarette. And then another scene, I said, stop. She goes, what? And I'm like, look at that electrical piping in the background. It's slanted over here. Like, she goes, you're watching a different movie than me.
Sounds like it.
Well, I do that with telephone poles. So, drop wires to the house.
Speaking to Heroinberg at Garden State Comic Fest tomorrow. Is that, I'm not going to be going to the Comic Fest, but Jesse Blaze Snyder, I found out he doesn't live too far from me. So I'm going to pick him up if he can arrange it. And we're going to go to Graham Nolan's Hawaiian shirt party at 10 o'clock. If you go to Graham Nolan's Twitter feed, he posts up this picture. It's at 10 o'clock, Hawaiian shirt, cigar, whiskey. I don't know about all of that, but I already got a Hawaiian shirt. My wife is already planning on stealing it because she likes the way it feels. But I'll go to that, and I'll be giving out my Heroic Tales cards with the Q code.
It's great. We do that at Heroes Con without Graham. That's where I talked to. Instead of hanging out with the guys, I talked to Jim Shooter for 2.5.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I found out he has a son. He took his son to a Motley Crue concert and all sorts of things. Lives in Nyack.
Yeah, he's far from me.
Not that far.
On the first Batman, I can't speak on this because I've never seen a Batman movie. I mean, I've never seen a Bond movie. Batman wins.
Batman, not
Batman would. I mean, here's the thing.
405 doctors prefer Chesterfields.
There was a old role-playing game called, it was a James Bond role-playing game. And it was kind of like all other role-playing games, right? Stats and hit points and things like that. But they had a really cool thing that they introduced to it. It was called Hero Points or something like that. So what they were is every character had an amount of points beyond everything else that you could tap into when you wanted to make shit happen.
Okay.
Right? For example, if you're a new level character, you might have 4 hero points, right? But James Bond has 45. So when you get into combat with somebody like Batman or whatever, you can pull shit out of your ass fast.
I remember that system. What was the name of that? It wasn't the Great Go says Top Secret. I played that game, Top Secret.
That wasn't Top Secret, but I played Top Secret.
Yeah, I remember the hero points, and I remember Superman had a lot of hero points.
I think it was a DC thing.
I don't remember. I think it might have been the DC game where they had hero points, and it was basically like, argue your way and spend a point, and it happens. In Villains and Vigilantes, the game that I keep bringing up because that's the matter of fact I'm playing Sunday with my buddies, they have these things called inventing points, and the inventing points are supposed to be just brilliant ideas in your head. You know what I mean? So, and in the way superpowers work in my game, superpowers work because you're tapping into this imagination. So you fly because you think you could fly and you have no doubts and blah blah blah. So because of that, you can spend inventing points to do like feats. So you remember in the early Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, the Human Torch would make a stethoscope out of fire and then fly over the continent and listen to the wizard talking. Stuff you can't do that with flame power, but he can do it because he spent an inventing point and made a feat check.
Right.
Oh, so Nick is giving me some confirmation. The DC heroes, yes, with the hero points. Okay.
That's what it was. Maybe I'm remembering the James Bond category isn't named Hero Points; it's called something else. But it was just, these game systems are pretty neat, and it kind of, at some level, it kind of addresses like the Moon Knight Batman thing, where you kind of could, if you had a good enough system, you could figure out, right?
Yeah. I wrote up all my favorite Marvel. I made up the X-Men and the Villains and Vigilantes, and I used the Marvel Universe as the guide. So I took Colossus's weight, and I took what it says 70 tons. I remember. So
yeah, 70 is what he was.
I finagled his stats so that it would match the Marvel Universe.
So, I don't know if you remember, but in the JLA Adventures crossover, they established right away that the universes, the physics operated differently.
Right.
And so, like Captain America, I'm sorry, Thor and Superman were really close. He was still weaker than Superman, but he wasn't. That Superman wasn't moving the Earth in the Marvel universe. Right.
I remember people got mad because they said that the DC Earth was slightly bigger, and that's how it accommodates these extra cities.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because, and then when they went to Marvel Earth, they went to where Metropolis should be, and it was like a farm.
Oh yeah. I mean, to me, it's a very logical solution that you come up with, because. Go ahead.
Oh no, I finished. I do this to remind myself to say so. I have the book. Oh, all right. So Marcus just put the link to my forum. My forum crashed. It was dead. My buddy Paul resurrected it. It's on its last legs. So this isn't it's www.villagevigilantesforum.com. Without the rest of it is the only way to access my forum. It says I have no members because we were only able to resurrect the information, not the members' info and everything like that. So I'm like one member, but we are in the process of bringing it to something, and we kind of want to make a Heroic Tales website. So, right now you're witnessing the burning of this forum that has existed for over 20 years. At one point, I was the only active presence on the internet for Villains and Vigilantes, and it's so old that it's not compatible with most systems. So, Paul managed to, I don't know what necromancy he did. It was dead, kaput, lost for a couple of weeks. He fixed it, and then Praetor says, "Should we not join? Don't bother, because it's gonna be reborn again.
It's not working.
It's probably gonna be reborn as Heroic Tales, like site for my comics, store for
cool.
merch, and message board. So yeah, you could join it if you want, but then you're gonna have to rejoin it when we figure out and do the
pay a fee all this time for that.
I'm sorry.
Did you pay a fee for all those years?
I just paid $400 to re-up it for 4 years, and then it died. So Paul is the man. He went and talked to GoDaddy. It was just like, you didn't tell us that it wasn't compatible with the new upgrades, and we just spent $400. So they recommended some guy. He said they were on the phone for 6 hours together. I owe Paul a steak dinner for doing all of this.
Wow.
Because you could go through the Village Vigilantes stories. It's called the House of Ideas. All of our story and pretty much read the next 20 issues of Heroic Tales, or at least the germs.
Oh, wow.
So I know Nick is a computer guy. I'm hoping maybe Nick could turn it into the future of Heroic Tales, my comic book storefront and message board with all the old stuff. But like I said, if you want to join it, that's fine. But I think you're gonna have to rejoin it because it's undead right now. It is. It's not even a lich. A lich would be cool. It is just a zombie.
A zombie website.
Yeah, but we're just so mad because we just spent $440 like 3 months ago to redo it for another couple of years, and then it lasted a month and a half, and boom.
Heroic Tales site after all that'd be
great. We just saw that name is taken, so
really
I'm trying to reach out to the owner, see if I could buy from him or
Heroic Tales is pretty those two words, you can see that could apply to other ideas that people have, right?
Right.
So
I
it's
I found out that there was 2 other comics called Heroic Tales. One of them
Well,
was in the 90s by Bill Williams. So I reached out to him. He came on my channel. We talked. He's
Really?
now a letterer for my comics. He's like, yeah, use the name. Because I took it from a comic from the 40s. I didn't even know there was one from the 40s.
Oh, wow.
I just wanted a title because originally my comics idea was it was going to be each issue was going to feature a different superhero, and unless I needed to come back. And I realized that was a wrong approach because people seem to be invested in the patriarch. So he's the flagship character, but it'll be a flip book. So you're going to get the patriarch, then you're going to flip the book over, and like next issue will be Mary Sue. And then in issue 3, it'll be the patriarch. You flip it over, and it'll be my Batman derivative character, whose name I had to change 3 times. But you know what? He became a better character because of the changes.
That sounds really cool.
So, typos. It's funny how we could read stuff and not even notice the typos. So what about Heroic Tales? Heroic Tales comic is my comic. I got 72 people. I guess it would be silly of me not to show my comic.
Show it.
Okay, my computer is a zombie computer right now. So this is my comic, Heroic Tales. There we go. Renzo Rodriguez, artist. We got 164 backers. Thank you so many. We have $4,700. We're just less than 300 away from unlocking the next stretch goal, which I'll show you at the end. But it's Heroic Tales. This is the cover. $10 for a complete story, 2 complete stories. Heroic Tales, and then Unheroic Tales, the origin of a villain who will play a bigger part in stories coming to go. But look at this. I get floored when I look at this cover by Renzo. And then Fund My Comic exclusive cover of Pat Broderick drew this, one of my favorite comic book artists of all time. So the premise of this comic is, let's imagine it's the Bronze Age Marvel comics, and Fantastic Four is coming out, the Avengers is coming out, supervillain team up is coming out, and Heroic Tales is right there, showcasing some new heroes. That was the premise, and I love this back cover. This is everything that encapsulates the patriarch. He is everything masculine. He's a dad. He's a father. He's a protector. He's and this is what he's fighting for. This is his family. These are his children. That's his wife down there with the hat. This is his farm. This is what he comes home to every day. This is what he wants to come home to every day. It's nothing sinister. He loves his wife. He loves his kids. And
can I point something out?
Sure.
When you first launched and you were that night, you were done on Bancroft's channel, you had gone through the process. You maybe had, I'm thinking you had like 30 or 40 backers. It wasn't, you've really taken off.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I don't remember. I don't remember because I was so nervous that I don't remember being on Bancroft's channel. All that he was so good, so nice. So yeah.
I want it back at each, because your comic isn't $40. I want it back. And you do a Kickstarter, I want it back to Kickstarter. You do Indiegogo, I want it back to Indiegogo.
Yes, I'm going to go to all platforms. And each platform is going to have their own exclusive cover for Kickstarter, which will be
Renzo cover. I like to back the original comic, the original artist at one point. But
yeah,
you know what it is too. I noticed is that so you've hired these guys to help you make your book and
right
take your ideas and make them real. And so I've noticed that a lot when people do it with that approach, you have the energy to go on multiple platforms, to actually spend time to sell it, right? I'm doing, on my book, I kind of did everything. So I'm consumed. I don't have any energy to do like that kind of stuff. It's a trade-off, right? And so, like, for example, you could be working with people that weren't as competent as these guys, and you could be pulling your hair out right now, right? And so now, like, it's a pros and cons every way you do it, because some people are like that. They're artists that kind of know they've got them by the balls.
I say that I assembled the Avengers, and I got Renzo as the artist. I got a Daniel De La Silva Rodriguez as the colorist, and then I got a Ron Mosicki's doing the
Nice
art
colors. Yeah.
for Unheroic Tales, and Oscar Carrera was coloring him. And I got Bill Williams doing the the lettering, excuse me. And Nick has just been helping me behind the scenes with graphic arts and logos and, setting up all this computer stuff. I'm not a computer person, as you can tell by talking about my forum. So I assembled the Avengers. And if any one of these people didn't want to work with me anymore, everything would be diminished.
I think there's also sometimes everybody's different, right? So you must have had a good way of sizing people up to see, A, you like their work already, and B, their personality is going to work with your team. That is hard. That is not easy to do.
I wanted to make a comic book my whole life, and I always dreamed about writing the Fantastic Four, and then I realized that wasn't going to happen with the way Marvel is. So I was kind of defeated. And then when I saw your boy Zach and RJ from the Fourth Age were making their own comics, and then when I saw Renzo's artwork on Thomas Valiant, I said, this is what I was picturing.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't have pictured it. It's perfect. So I asked Renzo, and if he said he didn't want to work with me, I don't know what I would have done.
And you're lucky that your timing was perfect.
We talk every day. Every day we're messaging back and forth, talking about stuff.
It's
excited
good.
about this.
Renzo works with people, so you're lucky that he's fast.
Yeah,
I see Renzo and then with another creator, and I worry about you. To be honest with you.
Well, he's I can't be his only source of income. The guy's got kids, so I encourage him to do whatever he needs to do.
Well, he's fast. Some of these guys can only do so much. God bless them. It's hard.
Yeah.
Hard. It's not Shadowhawk knows. So that's good. Good for him.
My product is $10 plus shipping. There's nothing I can do about the shipping. But I actually had people messaging me that I was ruining their comics by making my comic only $10. I'm like, sorry. I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with you. You know
what's going to happen. What's going to happen is the way you did it on the first campaign is really smart because it gets people invested in your cool characters, right? The second or third issue, you're going to realize that you're going to have to sell to make profit because you're paying these guys, right? So you're going to want to raise the price at some point in the future to normal prices. $20 a pay, and people are going to be at that point. People will go, John can deliver. So it's not like you're charging $50 an issue, right? You're just going to charge what everybody else charges or something.
Price point was kind of a discussion at Heroes Con a little bit. All of it, the drama. Well, some people involved with drama were there, but that's other. Which, by the way, I'm now best friends with PTP as well. I don't care about the drama at all. I laugh. I watch some of it. I laugh at it.
Drama, the way I look at the drama, it's like that movie War Games. The only way to win at the drama is to not play.
I told 2 people to go on your show, John.
Oh, cool.
ETP.
I invited him and he said yes. And then
I know he told me that. Yeah, I was like the official Oscar seat filler. Every time somebody had to go, I get to sit down. And you're on those concrete floor in convention center. You want to sit down. So I filled in for Billy and Andy and Dan Fraga and PTP. And then Rich Stonkey. Do you know Rich Stanky? Stonkey?
No, I don't.
I got to send you some. He's a creator. He works with Keith Champagne on a bunch of books. And if he has something to promote, you could have him on. He's a really Southern guy, really nice guy. One of Andy's friends. He's adjacent. He agrees with us, but he doesn't want to. He wants to stay over there.
Hey, Matt LaRock.
But I tried to talk
Thank
up.
you, Matt.
And price came up, and price of your comic is good because like other people's comics at floppy is $20 each. And
it's a comic book. Comic books are supposed to be affordable.
Well, here's the other thing too, though.
Idea, but I think it should be at least $5 less.
Yeah, but here's the other thing too, though. John's book isn't 56 pages.
Well, no, I'm talking about Fearsome, for example, which I love David Williams. But it's $40. That means 2 floppies. David Williams would do 32 pages or whatever. Reach the same size as yours, John, I think. and they're going to, issue 1 and 2. Issue 1 is done. They're working on 2, and the art's done. And so 1 and 2 are $40 instead of $20 or instead of $30. I mean, if it's from EBS, I expect $15. He might, $40 is a lot of money. Now you stop and say, it's not compared to, now it's 50, but then together it's 50 plus pages, but for $40, not for $25.
So can I let you? So
it's an expensive comic.
So when I did my book, I lowered it from 25, which is what people told me, to 20. Okay.
What was your book?
Say again.
How many pages? Sorry.
Oh, it's 56.
That's 56 pages for $20. I consider a bargain.
Well, so when you make, what I found out is that it's expensive to print the books. Forget about the whole solid year it took to make a book. Right. Making no other income. So then you sell it for $20 plus shipping, and you make no profit.
Right.
And you go, what you're saying,
killer. I have a good job. You know what I mean? Otherwise, I wouldn't be making comics.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm a working artist.
Yeah. I'm a working construction worker. Please buy my comics. You guys have no idea how hot it is to work in the direct sunlight. I lost 6 pounds this week, guys.
You look good.
Thank you.
So I guess my point about the price point in general is what I discovered is that that may be true for the buyer who's going, well, that's kind of a lot of money, $20 for whatever. Right. But then you go, if you're on the other side, you go, you got to sell, you got to be EVS and sell 1,000 copies to make any profit.
I do have the 2 copies. I got one of each cover, and the pint glass has a tier, $25. Best bargain in all of comic books.
That's true. He has a lot of good bargains.
I know. I see your point. See, if you're a backer, the backer has to think that you're like, it's like you're backing Da Vinci. Those guys didn't. They had backers.
Yes.
Same idea, and it's going to be more expensive. Unfortunately, not everybody believes that. They're always wanting a book. Your books just take everybody a year, the bigger books, no matter who the creator is. And then they're upset because it takes a year to get the books out. But that's on time. That's on time. That's giving you.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't think that all the readers completely understand that. They say they do, but they really don't. They still.
I know the normies don't understand it. I had a devil of a time explaining crowdfunding to the guys at work. The guys I work with, they're like, oh, I used to like comics. I'll buy you a comic. And they're giving me $10. And I'm like, no, you got to go to this website. And then, so I made up cards with the QR code that they could scan. And even then, they're just like, I just want to give you $10.
Well, when you get extra.
I sold a lot more comics. I probably have up to 200 backers, but that's cash in my pocket, that I got to hand it to them. What I mean? They don't want to register. They don't want to sign up. They don't want.
You can't. Who can blame them?
And then nobody's cheaper than an electrician. They don't want to pay shipping. Like, just bring my comic to work and put it in my hand.
Eventually, there's people who do wait for cons or eBay sales to get their books. They don't always. There's more reads. In some cases, there's more readers than backers. That's why everybody's got to print a little more, but printing is so expensive. How much more are you going to print? You don't want to print 50,000 copies and put it in a warehouse. We know somebody did that, and that's a mistake.
When I printed my book, I printed 300 copies because I sold on my backers. I had like 165 at the end of the whole thing, and I said, I don't know. Now I should have printed like 600 because the thing is, you don't know if people are going to like it. Right? You don't know. And then what catches, sometimes something good still doesn't catch on,
Right. And sometimes bad things catch on. I mean,
it'll be easier if the economy gets better. That's an unsaid thing too. They say the drama's this, the drama's that. My feeling is that the economy is probably cutting out more than the drama. The drama was a little bit of an excuse, but people don't have as much money to back comics.
You're totally right. I think after the election, it's going to boom again. And I think that what you're saying is going to happen.
I also want to say that this comic was particularly expensive because I didn't know what I was doing. I hired some people that I shouldn't have
Oh.
hired. You know, I messed up a few things. I had to start over a few times.
Really?
So I mean, it's a learning curve. You know what I mean? So I think like now I got a team that I would love to work with till the wheels fall off, and I think it'll be a little bit more streamlined. And I know what to do. I know what to avoid. I think so. I don't know. I don't want to sound like one of these SJWs. I don't want to make a profit. No, I got to make a profit.
Yeah,
I got to make a profit. I would. And the first thing I do if I hit 10 grand is Renzo's getting extra money because let's face it, he deserves it. You know, but I'd like to go issue 2. I think I made enough to make issue 2 now because I'm not going to make the same mistakes. But let's see. But anyway, okay, finish up your thoughts and then let's see who would actually win the fight. Batman versus Moon Knight.
Crowdfunding thing, and it was something I was thinking about. And how can we use, or you guys use, the drama to yourself? So we know that Ethan does Trashcast, and he gets over 2,000 people watch.
Right.
We know they're not all comic fans. That's fine. Some are. They used to do this when I first got in. People don't do this as much anymore. You'd have the guy pay a $5 super chat. He does read all the super chats. Back my comic, John Longbox's comic. You do that like twice. See if you spend $10. If you get 2 backers, it's almost worth it.
Yeah, I've done it on
you could do that, and you don't have to watch Trashcast. You have to wait till it gets to be 2,000.
Oh, my problem is I'm up till 2:00 in the morning making sure he reads my chat, and then I got to wake up at 4:30 to go to work.
We can find out on replay. I do so much driving that I'll listen to some of it. I won't fast forward through some of it, but some of it. He's going to start doing Comicsgate Live again, which is where people did it. You know, he wants to split the baby a little on that because he wants to talk more comics. But I was just thinking he could use the amount. But he usually does read most of his super chats. So.
Right? Yeah.
You know what? I will also say this: creators all have different gifts. Okay, some people are charismatic people like Ethan who can talk forever. You know, and there are a lot of people in CG who have their own shows who they don't have that one charismatic gift. They have a bunch of other ones, and their shows are not as big. John is going to do great because you're not, although you're not just like Ethan, you're a different type of person, right? But you're a genuine person, and already people can connect to it. And so,
I can't draw a stick figure, and Ethan is one of the best comic book artists of all time.
You can't. You're not really an artist, but either way,
no,
you're gonna do great as a show guy, as a YouTuber, you're gonna also have your book, obviously, and that's gonna begin to grow.
I've had so many guys on my channel that were just like, "Thank you for hosting me. I'm terrified. I can't talk. I don't want to do this." Like,
you know what it is?
There's a couple of guys who have big campaigns that are doing money right now, and they just like, I don't want to come back. Nothing against you. I just don't like it. I want to draw comics.
Yeah.
I don't want. I didn't sign up to be a podcaster. I signed up to.
That's not the life of a bro.
You know, but I understand that. You know, so I'm
artists like me
that don't want to be on the channel. I'll still promote their comics. You know.
So what's going to happen is
right now and then out these people, but you know what I mean?
No, what's going to happen is every once in a while somebody new will come along, like Mandy came along and Bancraft came along, right? They kind of give back to the community. Over the next few years, you're going to be that way too. Okay.
I love talking to people. I've been.
You're going to do what
myself on the back, but I've been doing nothing but promoting everybody since.
Yeah, and then I guess my point is. The most beneficial thing that can happen to CG is more people like you give people like me a chance to go, because I'm one of those. I'm an artist. I'm not really a game show host. Okay, so we're going to give us a chance to get out there and sell our books.
And Cooper, Telepathic Bunny, he said you got to read Shadowpunk, and I said, really, is that good? And I bought it on his recommendation, and then a week later, me and you were talking face to face. You know,
right?
To me, that's what it's all about.
That's how it's about. And so, it's just that's the only way it's going to really work for people to get their books out and make things happen. Because quite honestly, a lot of people enter CG and they make a book and they realize, gee, there's no money in this unless I'm big as EVS, and I can't afford to live to do this. So
that's valid. You gotta pay your bills. You gotta feed your kids. You gotta pay your mortgage. One of the things I learned in my business is we always say don't count other people's money, and you don't know what their situation is at home. So
that is true.
I'm not going to say anything bad about people. Also, when I said this, a few people have sent me private messages saying I shouldn't say this, but I have a job. Because I have a job, because I have a skilled job, I'm an electrician, we do pretty good. I have the luxury of making a comic book. Now, I'm going to retire within 3 or 4 years, I hope. I would love this to become my full-time job that pays the bills and everything like that. But I wouldn't be able to do this part-time as a comic book guy if I didn't have a job that supported me.
Right.
And every time I say that, I guarantee within 5 minutes, I'm going to get a message from somebody.
Without names, I know at least 2 big kings who have full-time jobs.
Really?
I'm not going to say because they but I know them personally, and I did, and they have jobs.
Okay.
You need medical. Let's face it. You have medical expenses. That's expensive. Even if I was to win the lottery of $1 million tomorrow, I'd have to keep my job to keep my medical. I don't have any illness. My wife doesn't have any illness, thank God. But you need to prepare.
You're telling me?
Yeah. I had a buddy that was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and he won like $65,000 and quit his job. I was like,
that's not enough money to quit your job.
I was like, what are you? I got 65,000. I go, you got a kid. You got a kid. You know what I mean? Job. You can't. That's a nest egg. That's something that you put aside. You pretend you didn't get. And I'm talking to him like all logically and everything, and he's just like, literally, when I went to his house to yell at him, he was sitting in his underwear playing a video game. I quit my job.
Well, years old. I'll tell you what. For a long time, I worked in post production. I made a lot of money, and I got to the point where I was done. Right? Our artist jobs are not like normal jobs. They're not like an electrician job. You ever see that footage of George Harrison and Paul McCartney? And George says, "I'll play the guitar if you want me to play. I won't play if you don't want me to play."
Yeah.
Right? And that's how it ends up for artists because you get henpecked to death. Okay, because everybody's got an opinion about that shade of blue, and your life is hell.
Well, so I don't. There's a lot of aesthetic work, believe it or not, electricians, running. You could do it this way. I'm at the point. What do you want? That's what I'll do. I don't really care. It's the airport. You tell me what you want, and I'll whistle. Yeah. And, because there is creativity, but not as much as you guys. But I remember you used to find, we should do it this way. It's a better job. Now it's whatever you want.
My point is, I've been freelance since 2009, and I stopped being freelance around 2015. I haven't had health insurance since 2009.
Oh my God.
I can't imagine. Well, you know what?
That hurts me. Guys, buy Shadowpunk. Buy Shadowpunk.
My point is, when you know it, then you go, I'm going to live my life a certain way. Right. And, if you live your life like everything is going to come crashing down any day now, I know that some people are cautious and they want to do it that way.
Do we have to stage an intervention here?
I don't like that mode of thinking. I really don't. I understand it 100%. Because when I was working on a regular basis, I was like, I'll never do that stuff. And then when everything changed, I was like, you know what? If I bought health insurance, I couldn't even afford to pay for it.
I know it's ridiculous, but
you're probably in a union, which is way awesome, right?
Yeah.
But it's like not everybody's going to have that opportunity,
It's hard, I had a job at 35. I switched careers. I started out at the bottom as an apprentice.
Oh, wow.
I went from making like 55 grand a year to making like 18,000, you know what I mean? As an adult at 35 years old, but I got a pension coming up soon. But it was rough. 5 hardest years of my life from 35 to 39 shouldn't be the hardest years of your life. Oh my God, you know.
Well, you made it through, and you made good
Yeah.
decisions for
But that's
yourself.
what you got to do. You know, that's what you got. And my wife is better with money than me. She famously reminds me when she first moved in, they were putting up an eviction notice on my apartment
Wow.
because I was just like, I can't afford to pay my bills. What do you want me to do? And now, now we got a house. Now I got everything I want. Now I'm making comics. But let's get back to Batman and Moon Knight now. We're way in the weeds, But I don't mind. I like conversation.
So I will go on the record. I will still stick to my story that Batman would win.
Okay, Marcus. We talked about everything, but you never really got to weigh in on the Batman versus Moon Knight.
I like Moon Knight. But I think Batman would win.
Okay, so here's the scenario then. The Beyonder, he wants to study vigilantism, and he just throws Batman and Moon Knight into an arena, and they got their typical equipment. Batman doesn't have the Moon Knight repellent. They got their typical equipment. Boom, what happens?
I think there is an initial sizing up, right? Posturing, moving around the place. I think that Moon Knight is going to be unpredictable, like we've already discussed, which is actually a benefit to him. Batman's not going to be fooled by this stuff. I think he's got stuff in his pouch. Alone, he could throw shit on his feet to make him stick. Right? Stick him in the ground, and now he's neutralized. Right? So I think that Batman has too many options to lose.
Now in the Finch Moon Knight, Finch, like he's the one fighting. Moon Knight would take those crests, and he would cut people's tendons. And you don't think Moon Knight would come out like, oh man, this guy's better than I thought, like and try to slash his thighs or break his elbow.
Yeah, I do think that would definitely happen.
Typically, like let's just Batman's into subdue, take him out, rather than Moon Knight is wounded and maim. Anybody? I'm just arguing the devil's advocate here because I got two Batman guys over here that would be real dull if I didn't advocate for Moon Knight.
I think that's a good point. I mean, how ruthless is Batman going to be? He has the batarangs, which
he doesn't use batarangs to the eyes and blind. You know what I mean? Like
he could if he wanted.
I mean, he really could. Just like Superman could come in with his laser vision and just take out anybody. Well,
now getting back to the Hulk and Flash. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's true.
It's almost a feeling as Batman would find.
Is Batman covered head to toe in armor? Because then he's not Batman in my way of thinking. Then he's Iron Man.
I would give Batman his suit light protection.
I would say Captain America's suit would be more protective than Batman.
Is. Yeah, chainmail. Yeah.
And again, I'm probably wrong because I'm sure Batman has some Wayne Tech microfiber nonsense.
Well, you know what though? There's plenty of comics in the Silver Age where Batman his costume is cut, right? Where the pendulum has cut his body, and he's
I was thinking that exact example.
So in my mind, you could say, okay, this version we're talking about of Batman, the most common, he would have some like super light Kevlar.
Wasn't there a Batman story that Alex Ross painted that he takes off his shirt and his back, and Catwoman's watching it, and she's like, "Oh my god!" And it's all these scars on his back.
Yeah.
Alex Ross always draws him covered with scars.
Comic that I think the Earth 2 Batman, which is more the regular Batman, that great comic by George Freeman, I think, where they got married in Earth 2, where he took off his shirt, and she's like, "Oh my god, what happened?" He goes, "That's what happens when you fight crime." And there's scars all over his back. And whenever you say the regular Batman without armor, that's what I think of.
That's a good point.
That's the Batman like we're thinking of, not this impervious Batman, Iron Batman.
Well, okay, but even if you go back to they throw these moon stars around and the batarangs around. Okay, we do recognize that Batman is going to have like something like a gel or a sticky stuff in his utility belt, and that if he gets it on his feet, then all he has to do is walk around them and sit there for another 45 minutes until the match is over. I'm not trying to be trite about it, but it's like
no, this is exactly what we
So that's just one. He has smoke to knock him out. He can put on the thing, and he could knock Batman Moon Knight out, assuming that would affect him.
Okay, let's flip the script then. So you guys are obviously Batman guys. Argue Moon Knight now. In debate when you had to argue the other side.
I'll give you Moon Knight, okay, and then Marcus can get it too. I would think that we could go with his deity, Khonshu, will become involved heavily, and he will give him power that he didn't have before.
Now, again, I in the Finch series, for some reason, I'm blanking on. Was he able to draw on this power?
Yeah.
He was.
What happened was the deity was fickle, and only in certain times would he augment him to the point where he could take a chainsaw to the face and still move. Right, but when he did that, I'm exaggerating, but when he did that, Taskmaster shit his pants. He realized there's no amount of blood I can take out of this guy, and he's going to still come at me.
Okay, because I know the supernatural powers that Moon Knight has is the phases of the moon, just like Great Gold Worm says, what phase of the moon? Yeah, if it's a full moon, then Moon Knight's gonna beat Batman in the first encounter. In my way of thinking, in that scenario that I created, they just boonk. But after that, Batman's gonna go back. He's gonna do his homework. He's gonna study. And everybody always says, "Oh, Batman with prep time." Well, Ben Grimm with prep time could beat Batman. You know what I mean? Like prep time, it means you're doing your homework and studying.
That's an exaggeration, I think. I mean, with the Ben Grimm.
Don't you diss my boy Ben?
I mean, let's not go off the rails, okay? And so, Marcus, what do you think about that?
I think that if it's the full moon, like in the Sienkiewicz at Doug Mensch run, when it was a full moon, he was super strong. If it's without Khonshu, so if he's super strong, then Batman is really going to have a tough time.
Well, Bane is super strong, right?
Batman has dealt with super
well,
strong
Bane is steroidal strong. I mean, he's as strong as he could be, and stronger than Batman. But I don't know if he's officially super strong. Of course, how many Bane comics have I read? So there's that. And you can always cut that. And Batman usually beats Bane by cutting the line to his steroid. And
really?
With the webs to Doc Ock's eyes. How many times can you do that?
That's true. That's a good point.
I would say.
Well, think about that. That's a good point. So Dixon and Nolan create Bane, and they have to have him so powerful to defeat the regular strength Batman. That's actually how good Batman is as a combatant.
Well,
which makes
wait a minute, I got to call nonsense. Great Gold, are you calling Ben Grimm Simple Jack? Ben Grimm was a fighter pilot. He was the quarterback. He was smart.
Ben Grimm was that may be true, but over the years I would say he displayed moderate strategies, and he displayed normal.
Well, let's face it. You got Reed Richards calling all the shots.
You can't win that one, yeah.
Yeah, so he's like, all right, I don't know.
That's a good point.
Ben Grimm's Superman and Ben Grimm are my two favorite superheroes.
Batman kicked the stomach of the Hulk. There's
right.
There's that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I don't know if you guys remember this, but one of my most memorable Batman things ever was the crossover with the Hulk and the Batman. And the Hulk throws a car at him. Yeah. And Batman dives through the windows. Right? That was like, wow, that is cool, man.
That was cool. It's funny when you said that because I just bought that Treasury edition.
Did you?
And my friend Mark, he was like, "Oh, is that when the Hulk throws the car and Batman dives through the car?" Since I had to flip through to find that page, and even he was just like, "Yeah, that Hulk getting kicked in the chest, so he inhales, and Batman throws the smoke.
Yeah, that one, I don't know if he could kick the Hulk in the chest. That's a tough one.
Right.
Well, talk about power creep. Hulk, Hulk got power creep.
Big time.
Yeah.
But it's there's something relatable about those dynamics we just described that makes those books so awesome.
Right. And
Right.
that's what I would say to sixth grade Andy is we know Batman's gonna win, but it's the twists and turns and like I'm sure Andy watches James Bond movies, and he knows Bond's gonna win, but there's that excitement. It's that path that you follow. You know what I mean? Like, did anybody think Luke Skywalker wasn't gonna defeat the Empire when they first saw Star Wars? But it was all a thrill. So yeah. But at the time, that was enough to be like, Andy. The D&D comic you've been collecting looks awesome. Yeah, I've been reading the Advanced Dungeons Dragons comic by DC that came out in the late 80s, early 90s. Jan Dussema doing the artwork. Oh man, and
nice stuff.
So there's Dragonlance and then there's Advanced Dungeons Dragons. Yeah, I bought them and I don't know why I stopped. I'm really enjoying them. Really enjoying them. So let's see. We got 77 people. Let's all vote. So this is two different contests. So who's the better character and who would win in the fight? And I really don't think there's going to be any, I think it's going to be a landslide, but let's be fair. First, who's the better character? Let's vote in the chat. What do you think? Moon Knight or Batman? And I don't want to I don't want to poison the well.
While they're doing that, can I just say this?
Sure, say whatever you want.
What you just described in the last 10 minutes kind of makes me change a little bit.
I'm so persuasive.
You know why? Because the moon thing is an unpredictable element that Batman won't see, and the Khonshu thing, if that's the moon that we're going with, he won't see that either. That will come out of nowhere. So that could play a big factor. And so I'm not trying to ride the fence here or nothing. If it's 51 Batman, 49 Moon Knight, maybe I would go that far.
I think Batman is the better character. Let's be realistic. 70 years, movies, outside of the comics, Moon Knight had a TV show, which I didn't see yet. Is it worth watching?
I've never seen it.
I don't know. I didn't see it. I don't have to.
Oh, I did see it. It's parts of it are cool, and parts of it are like, it's worth watching.
So I don't think there's any controversy saying Batman is the better character. But when it comes to a fight in that situation, of course, the writer can make whatever they want. But to me, logically, and to be dramatic, I think Moon Knight would win the first fight. Just surprising Batman because they're the same characters, but with Moon Knight has this edge and I think more meanness and more violence. But then Moon Knight still isn't going to kill Batman, and then Batman's going to be like, we can't have this lunatic in Gotham. We can't have this, and he's going to find out about, and like you said, Batman's going to be like, okay, we're waiting for the new moon. And then he's going to take him out. That's my feelings on it.
Okay. Yeah, so, I don't know. It's so there's so many factors that what version of the character
Batman has to be surprised, otherwise there's no drama. Hail chat. Hey Ray, how you doing, Ray?
What'd be kind of cool is if how these companies don't they're afraid to go down this road because it's going to be like either obvious or they're going to piss half the fan base off, is if somebody in CG made a comic and, and just to show people, right, play it out and have this battle happen. That'd be kind of fun.
In issue 3 of Heroic Tales, please, guys, back my comics so we can get this. Patriarch is my Superman guy, but he's nowhere near the Superman level of power. Patriarch would have trouble fighting Spider-Man, and he's going to encounter the Batman character who I'm not revealing his name yet. So there will be a Batman Superman fight, and it will make sense why they're fighting, and you're going to be like, ooh, they kind of have to fight.
Cool.
And so the patriarch, he's positive masculinity. You know, he's the Batman character is the anti-patriarch. I'm not going to say he's toxic masculinity, but he's masculine, but the opposite of the patriarch. And that's all I want to say with that word. And I'm so glad that people, because originally he was called the Raven, and he was literally a Batman ripoff. He had it looked like a Batman costume, but more bird-like. You know, instead of the bat wings, he had bird wings, and because that's the way he was in my role-playing games for years. I made up the character when I was a kid, and then people like, you can't have a guy named the Raven. They can't have the guy named the Raven. And then he was so cool. He would kick somebody's face in and go, "Nevermore," you know.
Raven. There's a trade.
So then he was going to be called the Rook, and now Jeff Johns just came out with a comic called the Rook. So I'm like, all right. So I came up with this concept, and nobody has this concept, and he's a completely cooler character. You know, Renzo's the only one who knows because he drew him. We'll make it a poster that we're gonna put when you open up Heroic Tales #2. There's going to be a double-page poster for Heroic Tales #3, just like Marvel and DC put advertisements for the house ads. So there you go. I'm all excited.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Don't name him Horseman.
Horseman. I was thinking Pony Boy.
Totally.
Pony Boy.
You know,
That's true. Would Horseman have a sidekick named Pony Boy?
I don't know. I asked S.C. Hinton in The Outsiders.
You know, there's a thing when you make a character, and Marvel clearly figured this out, that the name matters to capture the imagination. Okay, I'm just going to go on the record that Horseman is not so hot, and Chadron and Isom, they're not up there with Moon Knight and Batman.
Again, Eric July's been on my channel, so I don't like to say bad things about him, but I asked him directly what Isom meant, and he told me to read the book, which was the worst answer possible. It just,
I don't know.
I'm like, I did. Is there 2 Isom comics? I don't think the third one came out yet, and I still don't know what the name means.
2. The third one didn't come out. They had Gooding launched today.
And well, Gooding is the character's actual name, so that
right.
That's,
no, I know. I wasn't criticizing the name.
But when I say Moon Knight to you, and you are just a normie, you could basically filibuster and come up with a close concept of what new. When I say Batman, boom! I mean, it's just that is just a totally focused character. So to me, I always thought that there was even before I got Isom #1, and I feel bad talking bad, but this is I'm not saying anything about Eric July. I'm talking about a comic that I paid for. I thought it was unfocused, and when I get that comic, I thought the whole comic was unfocused, and I'm not engaging in the drama, and I'm not being a detractor or anything. I gave it I got a Alpha Core, but I'm not getting any more Rippaverse comics because they're too expensive for an unfocused. If the cornerstone character Isom is unfocused, then everything that derives from that is unfocused. Like I need to know what Isom means. And everybody who's big fans tells me it means this. It tells me, and I'm getting different. So I'm sorry. To me, that's a big misstep.
He could
One of the ironies about it is that when I first saw the character and his idea a little bit, I thought to myself, this is a Luke Cage type character. Why don't you call him Rippa? And I saw him ripping stones.
It's a great name.
Oh my God!
Ripping concrete out of the ground and fighting people with him. Like a Luke Cage brawler type guy.
And then he could have a sidekick, Young Ripper. You know what I mean?
And the thing is, he came up with it. He came up with the name. I didn't.
No, really?
That's his name.
Idea.
Right. You just focus the character.
And he doesn't have to pay the ministry people, right? And it's like,
well, he's paying.
And all he has to do is go, you know what? Issue #3, he says, my name is Rippa now. And I'm going to kick it. Whatever the story, I'm going to kick it.
Back out of retirement, Isom had bad news in the past, and I'm refocusing, rebranding. There you go. Boom. You got me back in.
We'll see. It could happen.
I mean, that's the one name he came up with that was good. And I'm like, that's a kick-ass name, actually. And it's right in front of him. It's his idea. It's like,
Well, just like Yara. What does that mean?
The names are weird, dude.
Right.
The names are weird.
Sorry.
Superhero comp, like again, I'm Ethan
Alpha
Vaughn.
Quinn and Super.
Cyberfrog tells me everything I need to know about that character.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like him or hate him or whatever. Cyberfrog is a robot freaking frog.
Shadowpunk tells you, you know right away. It's you kind of get an idea right away. It's like Moon Knight. You get an idea right away. It's evocative, right?
Right. You didn't read my comic yet, The Patriarch. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a great focus. You know,
You'll know.
You know what I mean? He's the patriarch. He's a father figure. He's the father figure for the world. He's the father figure for the superhero community, a word that I can't stand. Ripper. That is awesome.
Awesome. Take it.
Yeah. It's not his name, because his name is something else. His superhero name is Isom, and his real name is I forget.
Right. It is. Yeah, you're right. Isom's a weird name. I don't even get it.
Once it's revealed, we'll explain. Are you talking about Isom? Because I'm $70 in. I mean, how much am I supposed to spend?
Each one of the comics, I think Gooding is like $18 or something.
Yeah. And like I said, Gooding
is the
character's real name. You know what I mean? And real names are weird. So
one of the things that threw me with the whole Air July thing was I was very impressed with what he achieved. Regardless of even ever reading any of the books, he pulled off something that none of the CG people besides EVS could pull off. Okay. So when you make $3 million on your comic book and we make $10,000, I don't want to hear you cry that people are critiquing you. That is over. When you make that, you know, that's a slap in the face to all of us.
What he should have done was when people started to criticize his comic, because I didn't like it. I saw number one. I was like, I'll get number two. Maybe you know, he swing and a miss. Maybe he'll learn and whatever. And I didn't like them. And I'm done. But if he addressed the criticism like, okay, you didn't like, what would Stan Lee do? Okay, true believers, you didn't like I saw him number one. I was a rookie and I learned so much. And I got, you know,
right.
Mike Barron worked for me. I got Chuck Dixon worked for me. I got, you know, why can't I think of the guy's name? That's his art director. I got all these people working for me.
Right.
And I'm taking all of this to heart and I'm going to do the best I can for them. That's what he should have done. And I don't think anybody would have fought with him.
Done and over.
Because I know I'm not stupid. Somebody's going to complain about my comic. Somebody is, you know what I mean? And this is going to sound bad, but I'm already like rehearsing because I don't want to lose my temper and I don't want to fight and I don't want to get into you just don't understand my genius. You know, what would Stan Lee do? I'm real sorry. Do you want to money? And
here's the thing though.
What are you liking? I don't, what do I say?
Here's the thing though. Some people like red and some people like blue. And, you know, when people criticize the book that you make, you're going to go, are they making good criticisms or are they just like red better? Right?
Yes.
And so, but my point is, the ultimate point is, you know, you didn't make $3 million on your book, John. You know, so if you make $3 million, you should shut your mouth.
Oh.
Okay.
And you be gracious all the way to the bank.
I mean, this is not hard. Anybody should be able to figure this out.
This is another explanation, but this should be explained right away because the superhero name is the focus. You know, I can't stress that enough.
John, you're right. And if he had to start even with money like a regular CG'er, he would not maybe have done a second book. It's based on how many followers he has fighting a culture war for the 15 years. He's 16 years. He built up that channel. I think EVS said 9% of his channel backs him. And you know, and we all, you know, there's money more than what we think of the CGers. And if 9% of Ripa backs him, it should be about $3 million.
Well, that 9% number, I talk with Nick X a lot.
We were so excited for him he's going to be one of us. All boats rise. And all, you know, tide rises and everybody, it'll help. And then he couldn't take the criticism. He pissed off EVS, which I guess isn't a really good idea. And then now we comic fans, only the comic fans who've read the book, don't really want to go back into it
I want to.
Try to Chuck Dixon books and maybe the Mike Barron, but it's not like, well, I'm on it. I'm on Scourge. Boom, right? I back Scourge. And
Like I said, I want it to be good. I want to back it, but $35 and I just didn't enjoy it. That's and I got nothing bad to say.
And he was.
I don't want people to think I'm an anti-Ripper guy. I'm not. I'm not.
Crowdfunding. He did what he always did his whole career, which was monetize the haters, but it backfired a little on him. That's what he does. That's part of his YouTube thing. Well, that's fine. But it backfired a little bit on him, which means, monetize your haters means don't take criticism. I'm always right. And, and all that. And it doesn't mean he's a bad person. He was great on your stream. Yeah, Billy, she met him at one of the cons, the nicest guy ever. That doesn't mean he's a bad guy. It's just his.
Well, it's kayfabe.
One part of his business didn't help, hurt the other part of his business. He's been battling it ever since. Doesn't.
I wonder how much of this is kayfabe. Like, people.
That's been brought up. Whether
the 9%
kayfabe, I don't think it's kayfabe, but it's possible.
Possible.
Yeah.
I don't think it is either, but it's possible.
I was talking with the Nick Axe. He has a background in marketing, and he says you get 9% of your subscribers, and I got 10%. Because I have 1,400 subscribers. And I have 146 backers.
Oh wow,
it's a magic number, So, I should have waited, but it took me 3 years to get to that number. I wasn't going to wait another 3 years.
Well, no, I know, and it's like I've asked Andy, well, what's the best way to do this? Build up a YouTube channel, and I'm like, oh,
right. That's the thing.
People know what they're talking about.
Yeah, but it doesn't work for everybody.
Exactly. No, there's people who do well without big YouTube channels.
Well,
like that.
Not everybody can do that. They just don't have the skills to do that.
Okay. Dale, I was reading this post explain, and then he says, but that's my guess. But for $70, I don't want to guess. Tell me what the name means. Okay. Yarrow's probably, the art looks fine. Alpha Core I liked. It's Chuck Dixon. And it wasn't until I was done. I was just like, oh, that was Batman. That was Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman in military outfits. I enjoy the rip book. I'm just, I'm not. It sounds like I'm being a detractor. I'm not. I don't want anybody to get mad at me about this. I just, if you like it, that's great. I think it's great that he's selling all this. I hope it shines a spotlight over here and more people.
Wow.
Pick up my book because I just wish they would stop fighting. That's my big thing. Is I don't need right now. Heather Antos is laughing at us. Gail Simone and Heather Antos are stuffing food down their faces, laughing at Comicsgate right now. Look at these people all hate each other.
Yeah, but you know what though? Assuming that all the drama is not kayfabe, it's real. Okay, it doesn't. To me, it is ridiculous. If you size up situations and you go, yeah, I'm going to threaten EVS to take him down the way he did, if that's real, to me, he did not read that well.
No.
Because Ethan is extremely savvy, okay? And so he's not going to be able, you're not going to be able, and he has a built-in audience. There's no way you're going to outmaneuver him in this banter kind of thing that's going on now. There's no way. Okay, and Eric July should have figured that out long ago. He's going to lose that battle, and I don't know why he didn't figure that out.
I want to address this comment. You and everybody else waited 15 years for Wolverine's origin. Absolutely, but I knew what the word Wolverine meant, and it was a focus. Like I knew what Wolverine meant. It fit his character. It fit his powers.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not telling you what the Patriarch's origin is until issue 3.
Yeah, but you know what,
you know what I mean? But
here's the thing.
You know what the word patriarch means.
When you make a character, okay, it's got to be the epitome of something. Say Wolverine, we'll use Wolverine as an example, okay? So the reader has to connect with it right away. They have to go, that thing is like animal carnage, that is rage personified. That's right. Batman the Shadow personified. And it's going to resonate with them. So the name thing you're talking about, in my opinion, is vital because otherwise they're going to be confused, right? And you're going to water down your character. So the patriarch is clear, right? The thing is clear. Okay, Isom, you go, this is a mystery. I have to figure it out. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's a made up word. Like Yara is a made up. It's but again,
Well,
a Great Gold Worm. I know you're a fan of Rippers. That's cool. I got no problem. EBS didn't manipulate me because I don't listen to the trash casts,
Well,
and
no,
I don't.
Great Worm could
I don't know
actually,
what their beef is, and I don't get. Like I said,
he could be
don't-
right. He could be right, and we don't know because we don't really know what happens. We don't really know what happens. We just hear what people say happened.
right.
So he
And
could be making excellent points, but
I agree with this. Telling what Wolverine had for dinner on the day he was created diminishes the character. I like that he was man of mystery. I like that we didn't know his real name. Like I remember he was in the X-Men for like 3 years, and somebody called him Logan. And they're like, "Why do you call you Logan?" He's like, "'Cause that's my name." He's like, "You never told us. You never asked." I love that he was this mystery guy. Yeah. Great, Ed, please. I'm not fighting. I'm not fighting with anybody. The only fights are it's clobbering time. Moon Knight beats Batman first round. Batman comes back and clobbers him. But
it'd be kind of cool if someday you came back to this battle and you had other people on who thought about it more thoroughly and they have a better.
Absolutely. If anybody's watching this, we got 81 people. If you disagree, that's fine. Pop in.
I'd like to see Matt Barr come on and just.
Oh no.
Brogan raid.
I
just want to say this. Every time there's a Brogan raid, all of my Vegemite seems to disappear.
You know what? Even you know what, Marcus. Even if you don't like Matt Barr, which I like him. What's that?
I want to like Matt Barr a lot. As a matter of fact.
No, but in the I'll forget about that. In the debate, in this debate thing about the superheroes, you have to at least admit that he will come up with some crazy theories.
Oh my God, I'm sure he will.
That's what I'm talking about. That would be fun, and that'd be fun because it'd be different than our solutions.
Well, Matt gets along with John, so it'll work out just fine. But getting back to the Batman and Moon Knight, I am coming to your side, John, that Moon Knight could defeat Batman the first time, but will never defeat him again. I could see just being surprised by the violence and how skilled he is.
And unpredictable he is.
Batman would come and beat him the next time.
Yeah. That
makes too much sense. You make too much.
Well, let me put it this way. If I was writing the comic book, if Amalgam Comics gets recreated, that's how I would write it. That's how I would write it because, I think it would shock everybody. Moon Knight just beat Batman? That's, people
that
like
would be kick-ass.
People like, I can't believe this. It would be like outrageous. And then issue number 2, Batman's like, okay, Robin's like, you can't go out there. Let me take care of it. Call in the Justice League. No. He goes, he's got a fatal flaw.
My decision.
I'll take him out February 3rd. Why February 3rd? You'll see. And then he beats
my decision was based on trying to take away Batman's 70 years and his popularity. Because if you remember the DC versus Marvel, speaking of Wolverine, Lobo got defeated by Wolverine. Lobo is the strongest Superman. So how the heck would Wolverine ever defeat Lobo?
That's the problem with those amalgamated comics is they were editorially decreed.
That's the problem with them, yes.
The one you got to do is you got to do the Hulk versus Doomsday. Because I'm telling you, I've thought about it for quite a while. And it is a mind bender about how that would actually happen and what would happen.
I like that people are getting heated.
When you talk about the DC versus Marvel, when Kurt Busiek and George Perez did that story, well, they started the first time and then they finished it off. And it's one of the few comics I still have. The idea is that the Marvel characters are not as powerful as the DC characters. But in the subsequent years, they've powered up the Marvel characters so much. The Hulk, the World Breaker,
right?
That I don't know how strong the Hulk is anymore. I don't know how strong the Thing is. He's 8 feet tall, the Thing. When one of the best things about that thing is he was super strong, but he was shorter than Mr. Fantastic.
Right.
So, like we said before, though, but they changed it though. So, if the Quicksilver goes into the DC universe, he's equal to the Flash.
Well, he can't access the Speed Force. He's just super fast.
No, I don't think that's true. I think what happens is they don't have the Speed Force in the Marvel universe, but when he goes into the DC universe, because they did it in the.
You're right. You're right about that. I remember that now. Right.
Like they were like maybe he was a hair behind him or something, right? Which is the way you would do it.
I'm loving this. I could listen to this all night long.
I
reading that story over so many panels, so much. What would they do? What the Marvel universe is almost like the truer to real life, the cynical people who will turn on their heroes. I mean, we see that the athletes get turned on. Like the New York Yankees had a great run and they lost a couple of games. All the fandoms completely turned on them. That's what superheroes. But in the DC, Flash has a museum and a statue, and Superman has statues. They're deified.
Right.
Love that about
Marcus, was it you who said that DC is gods pretending to be men and Marvel is
no,
men
that
gods?
Probably true, but that's not me.
Yeah.
That's true.
DC's pretty cool. It's got a whole different flavor to it. And it
is. Well, they're much more closer than they used to be.
They are.
DC powers. I mean, like you were talking Flash and Hulk, and I missed that one. I know the Hulk won, but the Flash is really super powerful. I mean,
totally.
One of the biggest problems with that TV show, other than it getting really woke and stuff, is that he had to be really stupid to get defeated because he's so powerful.
Yes.
You move this far, like you could stop anybody. What? You wouldn't even really see him.
His thinking speed is that fast too. Right. Barry Allen can process faster than a supercomputer.
Try to talk the villains out of being villainy, and then they hit him with a wrench because it's the only way to get him. Because he had you're like, why is he so stupid?
There's that Justice League cartoon where the Flash and Lex Luthor switch bodies. Remember that?
Yeah.
And so, because the Flash is dumb. And then Lex Luthor's like, wait, you can, he wasn't given the time to become super powerful. But I think in the cartoon they said, he's like, this is crazy. Good thing you're a moron. That kind of a discussion because Lex Luthor isn't, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what you like. This is the whole thing.
I'm just enjoying this. You guys can talk forever. I'm enjoying it.
Forget the Rippaverse. This is more fun.
Yeah, this is more fun.
I mean,
I hate the concept of the Speed Force. Oh, there we go. Dale just said it at the same time. I thought the Speed Force was dumb because now what is there? Strength Force? Is there the Intelligence Force? DC has the Source. You know what I mean? And I'm reading this Multiversity comics by Grant Morrison. They came out a couple of years ago, and they explained. They actually made a map of the multiverse. And 2010, man, I would have memorized that map. And now I'm reading it. I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, didn't Wade use the Speed Force to create the legacy, so that all the speedsters are linked from the 40s up?
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of interesting, but if the writer doesn't know what they're doing, it's difficult to. But I didn't read all those.
Well, just like in the Force in Star Wars, it's over-explained. Now everybody has, when the Emperor did the lightning, we all went, "Oh my God, you could do that with the Force!" And now, you could resurrect the dead, you could create life, you could heal people. It's just D&D magic spells.
There's a phenomena that happens that you just described, where cool things start out, and then as they milk it as a franchise, it becomes dumb. Right? It becomes a filler for anything you want it to become.
Right.
And then at that point, they're just squeezing it like a lemon to get money out of it, and it's a bummer. Because I'm not getting into it, but.
Well, one of my favorite comics of all time was Alan Moore's Swamp Thing.
Yeah,
I loved when John Constantine showed up and taught Alex Holland about how to use his powers, and the first time he was killed. He grew back another body, and then he was able to grow a body across the planet, but it took like weeks, and now it's like any plant thing, like by the end of the like decade, like Alan Moore left, Rick Veitch took over, Jamie Delano took over, and everybody, Swamp Thing is just like beep beep, like it expends no energy. That's why I said power creep. He leveled up,
Yeah, yeah. One thing you notice about DC and Marvel, and these characters are kind of like 80 years old compared to the brand new ones we're making, right? Is that you can just see they've been so finely honed that they are potent. Batman is a potent character. The Flash is just, even though there's variations of them, with the logos and everything, it's like, man, they really came up with something sweet. And and by the way, Marvel, those companies didn't always have sweet characters. There's, for every awesome one, there's 5 that got thrown away that we don't remember.
Do you remember Wizard Magazine used to have Mort of the Month? They would just pick like a lame character and talk about the lame character. I loved Mort of the Month. Every once in a while, I'd be like, oh man, I love this character. This guy ain't a Mort. Is anybody in the chat old enough to remember that Wizard? First off, anybody remember Wizard Magazine? An actual magazine.
I remember Wizard.
That came out and talked about comic books, but they had
I remember Dragon Magazine.
Oh, I love Dragon Magazine.
Awesome. You know what the best Dragon Magazine ever was? Okay, I'm going to tell you. It was the one that has the red dragon face, and inside of it, there's a blue one too. And inside of it, they had the anti-paladin.
Oh yeah, And I bought a DVD of all issues of Dragon Magazine, and I have it on my computer so I could load up Dragon Magazine. And then I found out later that they didn't have the rights to do it. So oh well, I still got it.
Cool. Dragon Magazine was, you could tell the way they put it together was grassroots.
Yeah.
And,
the first couple of issues were like photocopied,
And they look like when I was a kid in school, we had our own Dungeons and Dragons newsletter that we would pass out at school kids, right? And so Dragon Magazine was like the epitome of that kind of a thing. And it felt real. It didn't feel like a corporate product.
Right. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's because I was 14 years old and I didn't think in those terms.
Sure. Yeah, totally.
But so I take it you played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. Marcus, I forget. Did you play role-playing games?
I dabbled in role-playing games, but nothing stuck. I couldn't get a group of friends who's really interested in playing.
That's because nobody likes you, Marcus. I mean,
well, apparently.
When I was growing up, we had a group of guys that we lived in the neighborhood, and we played D&D and all the Marvel games and DC games and everything. I have a bunch of illustrations I did of D&D characters. I should send them to you because even still, they're pretty cool.
Well, you're a good artist. Again,
I tell you, I thank you. I was the one I did. My one buddy had a cavalier, an evil cavalier. And I painted him, and still I look at it and I go, that's pretty freaking good. It looks awesome. He's like holding the sword, and behind him is a portal into the Forgotten Realms because he's from Greyhawk.
Oh.
And then another guy had a character that was like an assassin, and I painted him. If I can find them, I'll send them to you because they're fun. And you know what? When you're a kid, role-playing games, I think, there isn't a cultish quality to them, but that aside, it really taught us to problem solve and become creative in the way that we think. And it pays off because those tools you use, I use them all the time, and my friends do too. So
I like Goldworm's comment talking about Dragon Magazine when you said where it didn't have that corporate, because you would send them ideas, and if they liked it, they would publish it.
Would they?
Dragon Magazine. A lot of that was reader submissions that they posted.
Really? Yeah, and that is true. True.
There was a story in one of the early Dragon magazines about a king who's the family of Star, and there were 7 of them, and they rode wolves.
Really?
And it sound familiar?
No.
Game of Thrones.
Wow.
I wonder. I wouldn't be surprised if not that he plagiarized it, but he read it, and things stick in your head, and then later on.
He's a comic fan.
Yeah, big he actually wrote Dr. Weird.
Yeah.
His first published writing was Dr. Weird for Big Bang Comics. I still play and run D&D. Yeah, I play villains vigilantes, and I use those rules no matter what the setting, whether it's Gamma World or Dungeons Dragons. And then I have
Gamma World.
I have a map of the universe that explains the locations in terms of order and chaos. So, my Heroic Tales world is in the exact center between order and chaos.
Cool.
So it's got perfect amount of chaos, perfect amount of order. That means science and magic works, and that's perfect for superheroes. But if you move over here, you're closer to chaos. There's less science, it's more magic, and that's where the fantasy world. So I do have a multiverse in my comics, but over here is more magic. The rules are different. There's never another Marcus Kelligrew because there's elves and there's dragons. How could Marcus Kelligrew be born on this planet when fundamentally it's different? And over here, it's more science. So there's no magic, and that's my Gamma world. And again, there's no Marcus Kelligrew because there was nuclear wars or radiation pits and stuff like that. So,
Wow.
There is a multiverse, but each plane is unique. There cannot be. There's only one patriarch. If the patriarch dies, that's it.
Wow. I think you're spilling secrets.
Well, I talked about it so many times. I don't.
Oh, you do. Okay.
Yeah. The Bogans just got it.
And you know what? The shirt that Marcus is wearing, that is the kick-ass era of Iron Man.
Yes.
To me, Bob Layton and John Romita Jr. and Mark Bright, there's another one there too. Those were the best guys for me. Their styles fit the characters perfect, and they do it. Spy Master with nunchucks ripping him apart. If that's not kick-ass comics, I don't know what is.
Yeah, they solidified Iron Man. Iron Man, I'm going through some of the old ones, and he's just not that powerful. He gets beaten all the time.
Right.
The Archie Goodwin comics, where it's really well written. Wow. I mean, what a sad sack in a lot of ways. He's way more powerful in the Avengers than he was in his own comic. He's constantly getting ripped up. And like Superman was way more powerful in his own comic, and in the Avengers, and it's in the Justice League, he was terribly weak, and they had to get rid of him because you don't really need the Justice League. You have Superman.
Right. That's like a conundrum. Do you really need the Wasp when you got Thor on the Avengers? What you know what I mean?
Just like in the Shooter Avengers, he took Thor. Well, that's one of the reasons why Stan Lee took the Iron Man and Thor out of the Avengers and remade them, because of that.
The power imbalance.
Had to come up with stuff where they actually. Be a challenge them. But Shooter had Moodragon say, "Why are you hanging out with these guys? You're a god. Why do you bother with the Avengers?" And he, and he only showed up at the end to save the butts, and it happened all the time because
it was a Deus Ex Machina.
All the time.
When I first started collecting the Avengers from 150 to 200, Thor would show up. It would be a 3-part story, and Thor shows up to solve all the problems.
Yeah.
In the Justice League cartoon, they solved that problem better. They had to pull Superman down to make him not omnipotent, right? And so then he became a little more powerful than Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman was a little more powerful than Martian Manhunter, right? But he wasn't moving the planet, and so they had to do it.
I like this comment. My problem with Marvel was everyone was based in New York. If I was a criminal, I'd just move to Florida. Yeah, that if you read the Runaways, the original Runaways, that I think was 12 issues by Brian K. Vaughan, that was the premise. Was there was the Runaways were children of criminals, and they ruled California. Their parents, one of them, and it was all the tropes. One of them were mutants. One of them was space aliens. One was from the future.
Okay.
One was a scientist, wizard, or something like that. And one was a wizard. One was a scientist. And they each had a kid that encompassed that sphere. And they were like, "Yeah, we have no opposition. We moved out to California, and there's no superheroes here except for the Shroud. You know what I mean? So we already rule, and we don't need to be flamboyant." I thought that was pretty good.
Well, that is cool.
But that was
then it lost its way, if you ask me.
Wanted all the characters in the New York City, instead of New York City pastiches like Metropolis and Gotham. So
that's another thing. I hated
Gotham and
Gotham.
there wasn't originally, Gotham was New York City, just didn't call it New York City. If you read the early Batmans,
Right.
He did that on purpose so that the people relate better to the heroes. And in the 60s, it worked. His heroes, they don't even throw any punches in the DC comics. He said, no, that was skirting the comics code to have characters, have all that action. And they,
what do you guys like better? Do you like the fake cities or do you like
real cities a little better?
My comic is set in Science City, which is outside of Yuma, Arizona.
It's different now. I mean, now you can't really put everything in New York City. Obviously, I think it's.
I wanted to create my own setting and my own world so that I could make up stuff and I have this idea later on, and you can't just throw that into Manhattan. So it's Science City, and the whole premise is like, they everything's solar powered. It's supposed to be the perfect sustainable city, and of course it goes wrong because it's a comic book.
Thinking all that, it wasn't that well thought out. There's only 8. He can only distribute 8 comics. One of them was Millie the Model, and other were half books. So it wasn't that well thought out because they didn't know the comics were going to last 50 years. 60 years. They were just.
I got people who like the fake cities. All right.
Yeah, cool. I think if you could choose between fake and real, to me that doesn't matter. What matters is the world that character inhabits doesn't work, right? So what's the Central City is where the Flash is from, right? Or
that's just the Midwest.
As long as you write it in a way where the readers love it and it works, then it doesn't matter. Right, but Spider-Man works in New York City, and he wouldn't work in Keystone City, right? It would be dumb because he has real world problems.
After a while, all the cities became their own. Keystone, over the bridge to Central City.
Yeah,
each hero. I think they started doing it in DC. I think Mike Grell's Green Owl was in Seattle, right?
Right.
Oh wow.
Moved to Seattle, yeah.
It was too late by that. Nobody thought that deep. Now you have to do it like you're doing Science City. That makes complete sense.
It does. And you know what? The thing about that's cool too is that if it's evocative, like why is it Science City? And then I know that you have a whole explanation, and that ties into the story of the character. That is cool.
The city's a character.
Yeah.
I want Science. I have a map of it that Renzo we were going to put a central page, 2-page pull-out map in issue number 2, but instead I'm going to do that. So maybe issue 3 is going to have a map. Science. I love fake maps of fake places. I love that.
Back in the 40s and the 50s and 60s, nobody was world building. They just made comics. Now you really kind of have to have a world build that makes sense within that world, whether it's you or it's Rini's world or the Cordrath. Those are all worlds that just have
all right. We've all been too polite. Now we're going to get knuckle dragging fight. Is Gotham City in New Jersey or New York?
Gotham City, Chicago.
No, it's not.
It's not Chicago. Now that's it. I gotta.
Chicago's not anymore. It used to. Well, comics has its own New York City, so it can't be New York. The Teen Titans were New York City.
Right.
And in to me, in my world, before not thinking about Teen Titans, Metropolis is the best of New York City. Like Science City, the best of it. All the modern scrapers.
No.
And City was the worst of New York City. All the grime and the crime. And it was both. But it wasn't both in the comics.
So Shadowpunk is in Detroit, by the way. What you're saying, Marcus, may be true, but I heard an explanation that was much better, and I had never heard it before. And that was that because Clark Kent was from Kansas, Metropolis is a stand-in for Chicago.
Right. I could see.
I also heard that Siegel and Schuster were originally from Toronto, and Metropolis is Toronto. That one, I don't know how much
it never ends, does it?
And then John Byrne said that Metropolis is Manhattan from 20th Street up, and Gotham is
City?
20th Street
Okay.
below.
But
So
the
this-
question isn't Detroit, though.
The question is Hub City, right?
That's
Was
supposed
he?
to be Hub. Well, I think Hub City,
Is
actually
Chicago.
because that's the hub and it goes out.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know. You should. The question's from Detroit. I didn't know that.
But I think somebody put him in Detroit. They had the Detroit Justice League at one point. They put him in Detroit for the exact same reason because the Midwest and the Detroit didn't really have any heroes. That's why I did Chuck Patton, Jerry Conway, right? Throughout those,
Right.
and people made fun of it, but they put it in Detroit on for that reason.
Oh wow, that's cool. I mean, okay, because I grew up in Detroit area, so and
Well, I heard you're gonna lose your mind in Detroit Rock City.
you will. But there's not compared to New York is the hub, the main one. There's not a lot going on in Detroit. And so you'd have to come up with some pretty freaking cool storylines.
Well,
Like,
I'm not sure how that Justice League really worked out, but
yeah.
Well,
They had Great Lakes Avengers too.
they tried to put the champ. Remember they had those champions team that they put in LA.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so hard. LA itself is so spread out. It's not really a city, It's just
Same as Great Lakes.
that are a city.
And the West Coast Avengers and it's you know what it doesn't, because you know what it is, the drama that unfolds in the superheroes' lives has to fit in that environment. So when you're going, wow, they're going to the beach, it's gonna be crazy. It doesn't fly.
Yeah, the West Coast Avengers, the Mockingbird's going to go get breast implants.
Yeah, I mean, but when Terex the Tamer blasts the levels of buildings, right, in Fantastic Four, you're like, this is fucking cool, right? Whatever's going on here, this is dramatic.
There's something about superheroes and like Art Deco too. So like we love seeing the superheroes walking down these like Empire State Building, the Chrysler Building and stuff.
Building, yeah.
It's not the same. Superman fighting Doomsday in front of a hacienda in LA with a palm tree.
Right. It just doesn't work as well, But here's the one that does work: is the Hulk fighting the army or fighting the Abomination in the desert.
Yeah, because Hulk is too destructive. That was just Marvel. It's Jack and Stan letting the Hulk wreck stuff without really making him a bad guy. Because
they really did, if you read the Hulk all those years, they really didn't put him in New York City a whole lot.
Yeah, he was in New Mexico a lot.
Defenders are out on Long Island, right? But that wasn't really the same Hulk that's in the comic.
You see this, the Green Arrow is considered liberal, from the hard traveling heroes. But I always thought it was funny that he was a liberal who shot and killed people in the Mike Grell run because he didn't use trick arrows.
A liberal,
and he was
Is he?
Yeah, if you read
not a liberal.
You know what I mean? So I always thought, like, how can you call yourself a liberal when guy's jaywalking and now he's got a freaking arrow through his arm? Worse than the Punisher, because the Punisher just shot you right in the head. You were dead before you're like da 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 da, and like you're playing the harp. You're like, was I just killed?
Well, actually, I would go the other way. To me, that makes sense that a liberal would use force against people, right? And then a conservative would go, hey, like if you're Thomas Jefferson, you would go, that's your problem. I'm not going to get involved in your personal life, right? There's that standoffish kind of like hands-off kind of society, right? So you can go that way too.
But I just think it's funny because, like, do you value other people's property over another person's life? It's like, not. Oliver Queen will shoot you in the face with a razor-sharp, blood-drawing arrow for going through a stop sign.
Arrow.
Right. Right.
In the run after that, what was it? The
Longbow Hunters?
Yeah, the Longbow Hunters. He really didn't dress up as Green Arrow most of that run.
Yeah, he dressed up like Robin Hood. Yeah, the hood.
He didn't even dress up most of that run. They had him in plain clothes.
Oh.
Time when especially after, most of the time and they never referred to him as Green Arrow most of that run until the very end.
That's kind of cool, though.
He really did not. It's someone like John Sable freelance in a lot of ways, where he really tried to ground it in, like separate it from the DC universe as well.
John Sable is such a good run.
I'm in the hospital looking at all this stuff, so I remember it. So,
yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
John.
I think
John Sable.
back to the fake cities stuff. I mean, to me, Superman has to be in Metropolis.
Well,
Batman has to be in Gotham. But other than that, I think get rid of all these extra cities. I mean, Star City, Hub City, Opal City. Opal City, I have a soft spot for that Starman.
They did get rid of it. They nuked it.
But here's the thing. After this conversation, it makes me understand a little bit better that if you don't want all your battles in New York City or Chicago, and LA sucks for battles. We already talked about that. Or Detroit. Right. You're going to have to make up cities to be stand-ins.
Well, New York's so big. And there's 5 boroughs that you could have 2 heroes and they could never see each other. One's set in Brooklyn, one's in the Bronx, and never leave.
It's hard to grasp if I'm from the Midwest.
My Batman character is set in the Bronx. So that's because otherwise the Patriarch would have to fight him because the Patriarch's got the super senses. So he's set in the Bronx. And there's a whole story about him in the Bronx.
Most of the heroes that we're thinking of, like Avengers and Fantastic, were clearly in Manhattan. And Spider-Man started out in Queens. So
right. But I like this. Cape World says, for me, it's all about the feel of the city more than reality. Gotham should look like a vampire. Yeah, Gotham. The whole name Gotham inspires darkness, Baroque, old. They should be like flying buttresses on cathedrals and stuff like that. Like Gotham should be dark and scary and like crumbling infrastructure. Metropolis, that should be shining, tall buildings, streamlined, almost like the cities itself shaped the heroes. Superman had to go to Metropolis. It called to him. Batman, like the hero, like we say, we get what we deserve. Like the cities get the heroes that they deserve, and that's something I'm playing on in Science City. Like the city was designed, it was created after 9/11. There's Philip Manning is the financier. He hired, this architect came up with a plan for a self-sustaining solar-powered city. He took it. Of course, he used cheaper materials and everything like that, so it doesn't deliver everything that was promised. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any comic book drama. And the city itself is causing insanity. It's causing people to go crazy. Now people are waking up and becoming, because I was thinking, how come Gotham City has people dress up like penguins and clowns and but not Miami? Miami doesn't have any major supervillains, or at least Miami has cartel members. That's pretty scary. But Miami doesn't have people who dress up as birds and fish and stuff like that. So I wanted to copy that idea. So there's not too many supervillains outside of Science City because there's something wrong with the city itself. And it's going to involve Lee lines and
gosh, I hope you get to do all these stories, God.
There you go. Most Wanted. You got your V&V stuff. Right?
Yeah. Awesome stuff.
Do you have the because mine's upstairs, otherwise I'd go get it. Do you have the Great Iridium Con? That module?
No.
The first work of Dan Panosian.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah, I said that to him on Twitter. I said, I've been a fan of yours since the Great Iridium Con. He goes, really? You liked my stuff after that? I was like, well, it's more V&V. And you look at his primitive first work.
Well, you know what? There's also, I know that you might remember this. There's also a module that's the Elementals.
Right, Bill Willingham.
I can't find that module.
There's Death Duel with the Destroyers, and there's the Island of Dr. Apocalypse.
Death Duel with the Destroyers, that's it.
And the Destroyers became the bad guys in the Elementals comics. Now, you'll appreciate this. I guess I could bring down this comment. I'm a big V&V fan. No surprise there for anybody who's listened to me more than 8 seconds. The cards in my comic are going to have V&V stats on the back.
That's
cool. I always wanted to do it, but I was like, can I do it?
So we can your comic and then back Cordrath and with his D&D statistics, and then get Reenie's comic and back her statistics and play all the characters together.
Well, you're getting ahead of me. You're getting ahead of me there. I was going. It was all about the adventure, but you went right through the stop sign. So I contacted Scott Bizarre, the owner of Villains Vigilantes, and we spoke. He said, "You have my blessing. Use my stats on your cards." And then he goes, "Quite frankly, he could use some advertisement because the game's not that popular anymore." And he goes, "When you get a couple of issues down, like say 6, he goes, we'll make a Villains Vigilantes supplement for that, her own sales." And of course, how awesome would it be to have Renzo drawing all of the characters with V&V stats? And then to get to what Marcus said, I said this as a joke, but it's not a joke.
Not a joke.
Because I don't know, but like I have unannounced stretch goals. 10 grand. Renzo's coming to New York, and we're gonna autograph comics together. We're gonna get Renzo good pizza. We're gonna get Renzo good Chinese food. We'll do the Muppets Take Manhattan. 50 grand. I'll shave my beard. I'll go right to the barber, and he'll hold up the camera. But I always say 100 grand. You guys, Reenie is coming to New York. She's gonna make up a fiendish character in V&V. Brian Bow will come. We'll make up Wolf for Batsy. Fabrizio will make up Horace H. Hoover. You could come, make up Shadowpunk. We'll make all of our characters. Renzo will be the patriarch because I got to run the game, and we will live stream a mishmash role-playing game of creators playing their characters.
And
that would be cool. You know what? Well, okay, I have my figure. I could actually make a figure, but that would be cool if people had figures too.
Yeah, that would be cool. So
I saw Reenie at her Heroes Con.
Yeah, Reenie's great.
Yeah, she was fun.
She knows her role playing stuff. And you know who else surprised me? I invited Mandy come on my channel. She came on my channel, and we didn't even talk about comic books. We talked about role playing games. Man, did she know her shit?
Really?
I never backed Mandy's books, but I did want to meet her. But she didn't go because PTP went, and
I don't know who's fighting. I don't have the scorecard. The only way to win a drama is to not play.
That's like a separate thing, and it's not worth getting into. But it was unfortunate. That's all.
Yeah, it is unfortunate.
And by the way, Shane's a really good guy. I spoke to Shane. So I thought he'd say like 2 sentences. We talked for like an hour. Really nice guy, quiet.
That's cool.
I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Shane said that he doesn't really like the streaming. He would rather just write and draw. But it's just a way of what you have to do. I can understand that. Think about it. Comic books is a solid habit, a hobby rather. Most I love.
Stay busy.
If
added the sharks on.
When I'm reading my comics, I'm sitting there by myself reading. When Shane's drawing, he's sitting there by himself drawing, and
that's how it is.
You know what I mean? It's a solitary hobby. I am just the weirdo that's an extrovert. So but in my comic book store, when I was working at the comic book store, I was always like, "Oh, you get this," and most of the people are just like, "I just want to buy this and get the F out of here. I don't want to talk to people. If I wanted to talk to people, I wouldn't be reading comic books."
Well, everybody's different. Andy Smith did stand up, and at one point, and he's really outgoing and really good at what he does. His channel, he figures it out. His channel has all the kings. Well, the kings, because I know some of them. They are comfortable with people. Some of the newer people like me. Well, I'm new. I'm old as they are. They are a little more introverted. They have to break out of their being introverted to make their comic successful. It's hard not to go on the shows. I mean, look at the kid. Who was that kid you talked to last week? Nobody's more outgoing than that guy. No, what was his?
Project Noesis? Yeah, that guy.
That guy. I've heard him. He was on Vaughn's stream, and he just took over the whole stream.
All you got to do is say hello, and that guy will talk for an hour.
Oh my goodness!
Wow.
Yeah,
he
says, he. I was really impressed with him. He would set up a booth at a comic convention and sell $4,000 worth of comics. He didn't even know YouTube was a thing. He didn't have a Twitter.
I remember that.
This is a guy who's a full-time selling comics, just going to conventions, and it's just like this guy could sell ice to an Eskimo.
I mean, that's a natural gift. Not everybody can do that.
Is a salesperson, but my feeling is that in real life, everybody should do 2 years, well, at least 1 year, but I think 2 years in retail. Like in Israel, you have to do 2 years in the military. In America, you should 2 years in retail. So you get comfortable with people. You get comfortable with people. You get comfortable arguing with people. You get comfortable for saying it's not worth arguing with people. There's a maturity that goes on that these kids are not used to get that. And you go to college and you try to get along with everybody.
One of my favorite things was debate. Like, you're picking candidate A and you're picking candidate B, and then next week you switch. I love that stuff. I took a class called Young Lawyers where we had to argue these cases. I'm in 11th grade arguing.
You yell fun. I talked to Jimmy Palmiotti a bunch. I made fun of him with Billy Tucci. I don't want to talk politics to them past that. He's like the greatest guy ever. Why can't we all get along that way? Why do we all have to fight?
Sure.
So did we agree?
I agree with John. I don't know if you convinced Shadow Punk.
So what's the consensus? We've been talking almost 3 hours.
I'm gonna go with Batman still.
I'm going.
This is the good thing. I got to figure out, how do I make a poll? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
Not on here. I don't know.
I'm playing with all my buttons to see if I can make a poll.
Yeah, it's a YouTube thing, right?
Is it only on YouTube?
I don't know. I would guess that's where it is.
Could you do it on YouTube? Because I'm on the StreamYards.
I don't have my.
I didn't kick it off, did I?
I had my tablet open, but it's dead. I don't think I can do it because I'm not the one who started.
Yeah, but that's a good idea. Now I got 86 people watching. Who should be on the next episode of I didn't kick you off, did I? No sound. Turn on your mic. I'm looking on my phone because
I did it myself.
For something, I thought maybe I booted you. So, guys, who should be the next Clobbering Time contestants?
I would. Oh, contestants or the discussion, like the
discussion. Anybody who wants to show up. I mean, we could have had 10 people in here if 10 people.
Well, if I would give you any advice, I would have only a couple people.
I like 4.
Yeah, and then I would actually choose Captain America versus Batman or Doomsday versus the Hulk. That would be my preference.
2 villains. Okay, let's do villains. Doomsday versus the Hulk.
Is the Hulk?
Say again.
Yeah, the Hulk's not a villain.
Well,
how about
I don't think it's got to do with
versus Thanos.
Well, that's not hard to figure out. Because without the Infinity Gauntlet, there's not even a discussion, right? But
there is a discussion.
Well, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, Darkseid is.
To go back to, I just had a drawing of Submariner Aquaman.
Submariner Aquaman.
I mean, they had him defeat.
Okay, we got a bunch of cool choices. People in the chat, who do you think should be the next topic? Who should be the next topic? We got teams, we got heroes, we got villains. Anybody? What do you guys think?
Could it be Wonder Woman versus somebody?
Wonder Woman versus somebody?
I don't know
what I'll do going forward. This is the format's evolving, but I'd like to talk about the characters. Some of their best feats. Some of their biggest defeats, their strengths, their weaknesses. Talk about them as a character, and then we'll finish it up with the fight. You
could also do Iron Man versus Green Lantern.
Iron Man versus Green Lantern. So anybody? Wonder Woman versus Sam. That's a good one. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
That's a good one because they both have that Greek.
If you want to do 2, Wonder Woman versus Thor.
Wow, that's good.
For the Norse, I have my theories. You could do the Norse and the Greek, depending on what house.
Don't argue anything yet. Don't argue.
So Wonder Woman Thor, you could do Greek and Norse.
Yeah, that's cool.
I already liked it. Anybody? What do you think? You know what I'm going to do? So far we have Wonder Woman versus Shazam, Commandy versus Conan, John Constantine, Harry Dresden. I'll put a poll on Twitter, and we'll do like I don't know, what do we call that? A draft or an elimination? I don't know.
Well, Twitter does. Yeah, I guess it does have a poll. You can do polls.
Yeah, you could do 4. So Supergirl versus She-Hulk. That's a good one. There you go.
I never thought of that one.
Yeah, I would.
So She-Hulk versus Wonder Woman.
She-Hulk versus Wonder Woman. The Invisible Woman versus Wonder Woman.
I don't know about that one.
Invisible Woman's more powerful than you
Who
think.
has the best boobs?
She is.
If it's all guys, we could talk about who has the best boobs.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Power Girl wins that one, right?
Power Girl versus She-Hulk.
Right.
So I'm gonna close this down. We got 3 hours. I anal retentive in me.
I didn't think it would go 3
Gotta go
hours.
5 more minutes. So we'll close this down in 5 more minutes. Eddie, just throw whatever ideas you have in the chat. If you can, consider backing my comic. I think, it's
one of the other ones you could consider that could really get big time in the weeds is Quicksilver versus the Flash in the same universe. Because, I mean, if they did it correctly in the book, they are almost conquerable. Right?
See, I don't want to say any opinions and poison anything before.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But I love the challengers. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to hazard any opinions until we actually settle.
I mean, we could go through the whole amalgam Hawkeye, Green Arrow. That gets
right.
But you do, I like the Batman Moon Knight was just different enough. Moon Knight's like Batman, but he has a little difference that makes it a little more interesting. It isn't.
It is.
Nighthawk and Batman, the same thing, especially at the origin. I don't really.
Hellcat versus Catwoman.
So we should stay away from those a little bit and Flash and stuff for the next couple of weeks.
Captain Kirk versus Captain America.
Captain Kirk never loses.
Red Hood versus the Crow. See, this is pretty good. This is coming from left field. I like that. Lord Zart. All right. So I want to thank everybody. This was a lot of fun. Shadow Punk. I almost said Shadow Hawk. Shadow Punk has a comic. It's called Shadow Punk. That's not his real name, believe it or not. And when is issue 2 going to be available?
I'm working on it right now. And as a matter of fact, I will show you real super quick. You can see my screen. Nope, you can't see it. It's all blown out.
There you go. I can see that.
Yeah, so I'm working on it right now, and it's going to take a while. And I'm also doing something else for the book. When I launch, I'm going to do something fucking cool as hell. The people are going to get mind blown, and I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but it's going to be cool. So I'm in the process of doing that. It's got something to do with that machine right behind me. And so, yeah, I'm excited.
And Marcus, what's up with Marcus?
I'm supposed to be doing sketch cards, but I haven't heard from the sketch or EVS.
Oh, cool.
All out of one artist wanted to do sketch cards, and I said, well, it's not really worth my time, but I like to have a project that's good for my mental health. And so I DM'd him back, and he goes, how many you want? He go, how many you want to do? I said 5. And of course he's so busy and he's late with everything. He said, I'm going to send all these guys. I thought it was like 1 billion people. He goes, I picked about 12 artists. So I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. So I had a couple of things sketched out for him in case, because I do work, so I want to get it prepared.
Cool.
That's
I'm going to give everybody a sneak peek.
My DMs are open for if anybody wants a comic drawing. That looks
right. Yeah, I had Marcus draw some stuff for me. He's professional. He's on time.
Awesome.
So can we this is a sneak peek. This is Mary Sue. She's going to be debuting in Heroic Tales #2.
Wow.
I'm Daniel, my colorist. He goes like incommunicado for a week, so I think he's done with the coloring. He just got to respond to me. So Heroic Tales, everything but the lettering is done. So it's just the pre-press step. We're getting that all done, and we're already 5 pages into issue #2. And issue #2 is going to have a story debuting Mary Sue. Again, she is my character that Scarlet Witch done correctly. She has
the same page count.
It's that's just it. Like I'm writing 2 full stories, one for the Patriarch and one for Mary Sue. So it might even be bigger. I might have to.
If it's bigger, it's got to be more money. I'm just
yes, and I don't think anybody's going to argue with that.
You give everybody a break. It's really great, but I worry about you.
And I have I don't want to jinx it yet, but we Renzo is going to be doing another little, because I like to put in a couple of mock ads in every, like Matt Bauer does a sea hippies instead of sea monkeys. So we're doing stuff like that every issue. I want to change it up a bit. So Don Chin and Renzo are going to be doing a 2-page comic strip. Like a dailies. There's going to be 5 dailies, and then you turn the page, and it's going to be a Sunday. So that's we just did a lot of work on that the past couple of days. I can't believe I'm working with Don Chin. For those of you who don't know, he did Adolescent Radioactive Black Belt Hamsters, and then he did Parody Press.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be in the style of Calvin and Hobbes kind of strip. The first 2 are already written. I wrote the first 2, and then said, Don, here, you write the next. So I actually attempted humor. So I'm all excited. It's chugging along. And then Renzo, believe, is already doing character sketches for issue 3. So it's happening, guys. It's happening. I know I'm a new guy, and we're 95% done with issue #1. I think we're going to be able to start shipping before I promised. I'm doing the Scotty thing, from Star Trek. We need 16 hours. Well, you got 4. Okay, I'll get it in 10. You know what I mean? I'm fudging the dates
right.
You know what I mean? So if I deliver early, everybody thinks I'm a miracle worker. But I think it's going to happen.
That's a good idea.
I had coins. I didn't talk about that, but I made coins, and this Norse foundry is taking forever to ship. They're really expensive. It's from Norway. I love their work. I dealt with them before, but last time I dealt with them, COVID hit. So the fact that it took so long, I thought it was just a COVID thing, but they had taken so long. So I reached out to Graham Nolan, because he does those wonderful coins, and I found a new place, and they're going to ship on the 18th. So, I'm going to have 2 different style coins, but I think I'm not going to go with the Norse fan just because they take so long. So, Again, I learn as I go. So it's going to be awesome. And another thing we want to do in issue #2 is we want to have a comic book club. Like Marvel had the Mighty Marvel Marching Society and FOOM, Friends of Old Marvel. So you could join the Patriarchy. We're going to make a full-page ad. You'll get a frameable certificate, a coin, maybe a pin or a medal or something. I wanted to get rings, but I can't find a place that'll make rings affordable. So I think that'll be fun. So I want to write out a pledge, what it means to join the Patriarchy. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. So we're doing a lot of fun stuff. We're doing a lot of fun stuff. I want to make my comic like a club. Like, remember when you read Marvel and DC, or especially Marvel, Stan Soapbox, and you got Jolly Jack Kirby, and and all. You felt like you knew these people. You felt like they were part of a club, and you were invited. I want to copy that. Oh, I also have a letters page. If you write to heroicmails@yahoo.com, you could get a letter printed in the first issue of Heroic Tales. I got 1 letter so far, so the rest is going to be my editorial, talking about everything. But I would like to do letters. I'd like to do all of the old school comic book stuff. And my forum, I'm going to morph it into the Heroic Tales forum. and make it a storefront and everything like that. I got big plans. I got big plans, but it all depends on you guys. So thanks a lot.
All right.
What else do you want me to say? Anything, Marcus? Thanks for showing up. Oh, I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you.
It was a lot of fun to be able to jump on.
That's nice to meet you.
Want to jump on more if possible.
Yeah. So when I do this again, I'll put up a poll rather. We'll see who the next two combatants are. And yeah, I'm going to keep it to 4 people on screen. So if I got a lot of people waiting, I'll just rotate somebody out. You know what I mean? Keep it.
Good.
Once you get more than 4 people are talking over each other, and it just causes problems.
Definitely.
So thanks a lot, everybody. And I'll see you Sunday. I'm doing Sunday comics at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Alpha Flight number 1.
Can't wait.
Right?
That's awesome.
Yep. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Take it easy.
Take it easy.